Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Comment Dense podcast. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
You're not dead yet.
no, we're not dead. We are slowly boiling and broiling. Oh, God, it's uncomfortable here in the UK. Probably
Why
also
did
in
we
Europe.
have to do the podcast on the hottest day? You know?
Why did we as a species have to agree?
Yeah.
Global warming. That sounds like a brilliant idea. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name, of course, is Ebac, and you can see I've let my hair down for the podcast today. We, of course, have Burr.
Oh, damn.
Hello.
We have
Hi.
a Lemming.
That's me.
And a Shadow.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Now, you may all notice that today's episode has a particular numbering to it. If you look down there.
If I may interrupt first, because no, okay, never mind. It was my Twitch that was doing crazies. Okay.
You sure?
I was
W Twitch.
I was worried that the stream is still not working. It is working. It's just
It is working.
It wasn't
Okay.
working for me.
Wasn't working
Never
for you.
mind.
That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Let's
That's
get
good.
back to
We're back to
get
it.
back to the rock.
Shut up, Alexa.
Not now, Kato.
Not now, Kato. So yeah, we are here with episode 34 of the Common Dense podcast, the show where I gather my friends and we comment densely upon the recent news and events that have happened within the gaming geek sphere, as it were. Maybe we should get the boilerplate out of the way first, probably. Cool. We cool with that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That leads us into perhaps discussion, which is a certain strike going on. Does someone want to quickly take that before we get into what we've been playing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
You first, Bert.
So in September last year, when the previous strike, when the strike of the film and TV actors was ending, the Sag-aftra authorized that this year there's going to be a strike of actors and producers working with the video game industry. And so on Friday, a video game Sag-aftra strike has started. And they are in dispute with quite a huge conglomerate of companies. Let me list
While you're listening to that, Shadow, just give me an idea.
the people who are the villains in this story. So, tell me, this is not a list of literally a list of villains. The sort of League of Doom. Activision Productions, Disney character voices, Electronic Arts Productions, Epic Games, Take-Two Productions, Warner Brothers Games. There's a few companies also that help companies with the acting and the film part of video games, like Blind Light and Formosa Interactive and Voicework Productions. But yeah, all of those names seem like absolute villains. And there's an open argument right now, and mostly Sag-aftra is fighting for improvement of the working conditions of wages. And one of the main topics is also protection of the actors and the work against being reused by generative AI later.
Yeah.
To which the companies that I've just mentioned are hissing and having fits and saying that this is outrageous and they don't understand why this strike is even going on.
Why? Because it's protecting people's livelihoods. Is why it's going on.
Yeah.
How dare you try and prevent us from making you all redundant? Brrr.
Yeah.
But that means
Yeah, let
Sorry,
Shadow
go,
talk.
Shadow.
Yeah. Sag-aftra said that there's no ongoing boycott. They just want people to be aware and talk about why they're striking, which is pretty legitimate. In that, hey, we don't want you using our voice for generative AI because that will put us out of business, and voice acting is already hard enough, even in union work. So, yeah, go fuck yourselves.
Not just that, but we've started to see that. After kind of like the trend against AI is starting to slowly move away from it. Like the investors starting to be like, "There's not money in AI anymore," which is good. It's good. It's glad
Yeah.
we beat the crypto, we beat the the NFTs, and now we're beating AI, which is good.
Unfortunately, we haven't beat them hard enough. We need
Not
a
hard
bigger
enough.
stick.
We do need a bigger stick.
Well,
S-
we do want AI, but we want AI to do the things that are first protected by law. Two, they are we get confirmation that they are being ethically what's the word conducted. And three, we want AI to do the things that are important, like detecting breast cancer,
Yeah, exactly. Can we
Yeah.
use
or or
AI to
invent
detect breast cancer, please? And
or
there is
yeah.
AI actually being used in my hospital
Mm,
to help detect abnormalities in
mm,
X-rays.
yeah.
can we?
And
So
we want
That's
this
what it's good at.
yeah, we want AI to invent like new and cheap antibiotics that we are unable to do with like lab tests because they are too expensive to be randomly researching things.
Lemming?
can't we let AI do the very, very important things that humans can't do on their own, and leave all the creative, fun things
For humans.
for the creative people?
You
Um,
would think so, wouldn't you?
yeah.
Yeah, I wish we could, but there's one teeny tiny little problem. You gotta
Capitalism.
have money.
Yeah, so I'm
There's
gonna
no money in it.
I'm gonna give my line. Let's have AI save lives, not destroy livelihoods.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
True.
um,
Yep.
which is
Amen to that.
currently is going through the latter half of that, which is destroying livelihoods, as people see a way of AI of phasing people out of existence. Which at this stage, you know, and people say industry's got to change. Yes, industry's got to change, but thing is, there's some.
Not like this.
What happens when the world doesn't get to people don't get to work in the world? Are we going to adjust the economy to account for that? Are we? Because fuck that, I think is what's going to happen. No, that's not what's going to happen. So let's not be getting people out. Let's not start to replace people in workplaces before we decide how we're actually going to deal with the fact that those people need jobs or some way of earning money. So yeah. Anyway, we've mentioned Sag-aftra Strike. We are. I don't think it's any surprise to say that the four hosts of this podcast are 100% in favor of the strike of this podcast.
Here's to you, strikers.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
May the cards forever be in your favor.
Right. Let us get back down to the regular podcast show. That was going to be a news topic, but we always do the news after talk about gaming. But given the importance of that boilerplate, it was important we get that first. So, Burr, what you been playing?
It was a really hard month, 2 months, 4 months for me recently, because I've been having a project out of hell and work. So I was literally very hard pressed to play anything. And I was trying to start playing Tyranny because that's a great game, and Shadow recommended it very much. And I started playing it like 6 years ago, and I
Mhm.
never gotten past sort of not far after prologue. And now I've gotten a bit further, but once again I got stuck because it's a game that requires a lot of thinking and feeling and having brain space, and I didn't have any of that.
Oh, be nice to
Because
yourself.
it was very hot, and I was very tired after work every day.
Mm.
So I tried something easier, and that was a very interesting puzzle indie game from China called Terracotta,
Hmm.
which has a really interesting premise because you are uh, you are a little boy that tries to raise the ghost through sort of yin and yang world full of terracotta warriors, and you solve puzzles that you can set up some of the things in a mode where everything is still, you walk very slowly, you can raise walls, and then in the other world, in the other mode, you run fast, but everything also moves. The terracotta warriors come alive, and the arrows are flying, and the walls are raising, and you use the transition between those two worlds to create puzzles, to create walls, to bounce the arrows from, to switch river dragons that change the river current from left to right and back and do all kinds of things. But also I got at some point it started to be a bit too brain heavy on me. So I started another. I abandoned that game and started another one that is right now taking over all my time. It gets me very frustrated, but also is very rewarding and very fun. It's called Nine Souls. It is also a Chinese game, but from the other China. That's a Taiwanese game. It's funny that both Taiwan and mainland China call themselves China. They're both like, I am China, you are fake China. So yeah, another game from another China. It's a company that's created side-scrolling horror games before, like Detention,
Hmm.
which was very warmly accepted and acclaimed.
Hmm.
And this one is a Metroidvania slash Souls-like, which is pretty interesting. It has a very tall mood and aesthetics. It is a very Taiwanese game. Everyone is wearing the uh, classic clothes, and the music is sort of a mix of very cyberpunk music crossed with traditional Asian melodies. It sounds absolutely brilliant. It's very reminiscent of cyberpunk movies like Ghost in the Shell or Akira.
Hmm. Hmm.
The 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 visuals are absolutely stunning. I love the visuals of the game and the animations and everything, but it's so difficult. It's so hard. I've, right now I have 263 deaths, and I'm only like 1/4 of the game through. So there's, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like die at least 2,000 times before the game's over.
Hey, power to you. I definitely someone who I wouldn't be able to kind of deal. But actually, no, I've played the demo of Nine Souls. Really enjoyed it as well, for what it's worth. I just not had the opportunity to kind of pick it up. So yeah, it's on my list, but it's not like a high priority for me. So I'm just gonna quickly accept this so I can show you guys what it looks like. It. Okay. Da-da-da-da. All right, let's have a look on here. So, guys can still hear me, right?
Yep.
Cool. I was just testing you. So Nine Souls.
See
Test
if you're still
successful.
paying attention.
So here's the trailer, which I'm just pulling up on the screen, which definitely you can see the influence.
It's very pretty.
It's a gorgeous looking game.
It is very
Ooh,
pretty.
yeah.
It sounds great.
From Red
Murder.
Candle Games. Yeah, and Murder. Lots of very
Yeah,
lot.
lots of
It definitely, when I played it, gave me like a Soulsvania style aspect to it. It definitely more Souls than it is Vania, but I don't know because I'm not sure how much of a Metroidvania it is. But I guess
it is both. It is very Souls and very Vania.
okay, because I mean,
There's a lot of Metroidvania in it,
mm,
but also it's I would say this with the enemies it's very much like Hollow Knight. But
yeah,
there's a lot of really interesting approaches to bosses because they would be very varied. So already, even though I've just been beating 3 bosses, there's if I may sort of spoil about the mechanics of the bosses, there's one that is just traditionally a boss that you have to beat down, but then the next one is a lady that is controlling 2 zombies, and you can only beat her after you defeat 1 or 2 of the zombies because she comes and she starts doing chants to resurrect them again. So then she's vulnerable, and you slowly beat her up whenever you defeat one of the zombies. Then there's another one that is pretty easy to beat up, but every now and again he heals up, so the fight is very long. and I bet there's a lot of different kinds of bosses, a lot of different kinds of tricks and mechanics to the further bosses in the game. And I really enjoy the fact that there's so much diversity in the mechanics of fighting the bosses.
Good, good, good. Right then, thank you for sharing. Shadow, what have you been playing this month?
I've been playing mostly two games. I was playing the let me just make sure I've got the name of the thing right. Terra Nil's Vita Nova update. The devs were on an extended break after they first released their game because they didn't want to they wanted to add more stuff, but they didn't want to like overwork themselves, kind of thing. And the Vita Nova upgrade has done quite a few things, like changed how some mechanics work, and it's added more levels and variety to the game, which I do appreciate. It is good to get the brain cells working, even though I've had to stop in the middle of my run because one of the mechanics to because one of the mechanics to get one of the animals into the area in order to get a completion bonus is so fucking stupid, and it's unreliable as hell, and it's just like I can't be fucked to go through RNG again and again and again just to get perfection, so I just quit out of the game. I quit out and uninstalled the game, so it's on my shit list right now. That's not a criticism of the game itself. Everything is fine except for that one thing. It's just winds me up in particular. But I had a lot more fun with a game that I love so much that I have 100%ed, called Slipstream. Slipstream is a retro-inspired racing game in that it's a pseudo 3D racing game with 2D graphics. So your car is 3D, and you are driving into the screen, kind of thing. And it's got a very cool aesthetic. It's very 80s and 90s inspired. Very much in the old style of the arcade racers, kind of thing. And it leans quite heavily on the drifting mechanics. But the good thing about this game is that if you're not very good at the manual drifting, it has an automatic drifting uh feature, which has saved this game for me. If it didn't have that, I would not have played this as much as I have. It's strangely addicting. It's really good. It's like sometimes there are bits where you're like, "Excuse me, I'm not sure how you wanted me to get past this game," but it's a good time, and you can get all of the achievements on easy mode if you want. It's one of those really chill games, and I have to mention that because games with accessibility modes and difficulty settings that don't gate their achievements behind them, I love you. I owe you my life, kind of thing. It's
Also, sorry. No,
it's
go
a
ahead.
really good game. I really love it. It's quite cheap as well, and it's good. I would thoroughly recommend Slipstream if you just want a quick little racing game just to get your heart pumping and your trigger finger hurting because you are holding down the accelerate button for a long period of time. But it's fun as fuck.
Definitely looks interesting, Slipstream. I definitely seen you play it quite a few times, so glad you've been enjoying it.
Yeah, I now own it thanks to watching you play it.
Yes, it is very very fun, and just it's worth it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really recommend it, and it's cheap enough. It's under 10 quid. It's under £10. Come on.
And there's a lot of really fun small Easter eggs in that game.
Yes, there are references to Initial D in there, and some other references that there's Bob Ross in there, except it's not Bob Ross, it's somebody else.
Wow.
Yeah, I thoroughly would recommend it. It's a cheap and cheerful game.
And there's Doc Brown in there. Great Scott!
Yes.
Fantastic. I'm glad you've been enjoying it. That, of course, is on. Although that's the PlayStation 4 trailer. It's available on Steam. What else is it on, Shadow?
It's on Steam, but I'm not sure about other things. It's probably on quite a lot of other things because it's a cute little racing game.
Yeah, the graphics are the sort of thing that'll run on a toaster. So.
Yeah,
Mm.
and also it's got a free DLC, so
Mm.
which adds
Also,
more tracks.
it's on GOG. Go get it on GOG.
Yes.
There you go,
Get it on
GOG.
Also, if you know a little bit about how to navigate the files, you can actually put your own music in.
Well, there you go.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you can put actual Eurobeat in your game.
Unfortunately, I do not have Eurobeat. I only have like one Eurobeat I picked up from a very kind YouTuber, but I don't have it in WAV so I can't use it.
Oh, and he's .wavs. Okay.
Yes, .wavs, and there's another file type it uses.
Well, I shall get it for you. Arr.
It's fine, but
It's fine, but complete to the game. no worries.
Lemmy,
For
what
my
are you?
name is not Nathan.
What have you been playing?
I've been playing a vast multitude of things. Notably, finally playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes.
It's great. I'm playing it every Wednesday with Drifting over on mine and her channels.
Go watch
Good.
it.
It's a lot of fun. Last week we fought something that's basically an observer. It's like a beholder, but different.
It's a beholder with the name the number plate filed off.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's a beholder that you have a chance of surviving.
Yeah, basically. I've also been playing in my free time Power Wash Simulator. I realized I hadn't fully finished it, so I'm doing some of the side stuff. I goofed up a run on Power Wash Simulator.
How can you
Ow.
goof up a run on Power Wash Simulator?
I was going for the achievement where you complete 95% of a level without completing a part,
Oh.
Ah.
and then dinged. I just lost concentration and did the entire square. And
Ding.
yeah, ding. Failed the entire run. Ah! So I'm going to when I can be bothered, I'm going to be restarting that one.
You entered the trance, and it was just like, no.
No!
At that point, the question becomes like, what is the optimal level for that? That's an interesting
One,
question you can think about.
The one I've been going for is a paintball arena, because it's got very few small items. Like there's a pickaxe in
Yes.
one corner, there's a few other things, but everything else is like large enough that I can just paint a little. Well, I can clean a little circle, keep the dirt in the middle of that circle, and just clean everything else.
Makes sense.
Except for that one panel in the tunnel, and I'm so annoyed at myself.
These things
Like,
happen.
ah! It happens, but there you go. But the game I would like to talk about is 5 years old.
Oh, do talk away.
Ace Combat 7.
Oh.
I've talked about that game a lot. I love that game. The soundtrack is flawless. The gameplay is brilliant. It came out on Switch.
Ah.
Ah.
It came out on the Nintendo Switch. It runs at 720p.
Because
I'm
Switch.
I'm about halfway through the game because I've been playing it at work on my lunch breaks. I'm about halfway through the game, and I've only had one stutter throughout the entire playthrough so far, and that was when I was flying between mountains. So unfortunately, that stutter did end up with me dying because I smashed into a mountain because the wind went. Nope, the turbulence today splat. Otherwise, not been a problem. Runs fine. Runs absolutely fine. 720p, so it doesn't look as good as my PC version. And I only have one problem.
What's
The
that?
price.
What's the price?
It's still full price.
Oh.
It's a 5-year-old game, and it's still 50 quid.
Does it include the DLC at least?
No!
Oh, that's just the worst.
It comes with basically the base price comes with what was originally the deluxe edition, which comes with a few DLC, like the season pass DLC. Beyond that, there are 3 £10 each DLC packs not included in the original season pass, including the Top Gun Maverick DLC pack.
Ah.
So there is content in this 5-year-old release you can't get without spending more money.
Well,
That is shitty.
That's
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah.
At the very least,
don't
I would
need
have said, like, look, if they're going to charge full price, I would have given them a lot more leeway if they're like, oh, it
Yeah.
has all the DLC included.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You know, I would have been okay with like full price, get everything that was in the original release. Instead, they haven't even done the one thing Ace Combat games have always done on a Nintendo console.
Mm.
They did it on the Switch for Ace Combat Assault Horizon Legacy Plus, which was Nintendo specific skins for the aircraft. They haven't done it, and that's annoying because I want to be able to fly around as an A-10 Warthog in a Bowser skin. I could do that in Ace Combat 2 Remake. Why isn't it here? You've taken 5 years to port it over. Other than
Yeah,
that, I am legitimately enjoying the game. It's one of my favorites. It's just disappointing that they haven't done anything with it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
that is fair. And it does seem like it is one of the things where it's like, okay, we finally be able to get this on the Switch, but we can't really do too much else with it. So I kind of, I mean, I shouldn't give it a
Yeah.
pass. I'm not giving it a pass because
I'm not giving it a pass. I'm playing it. I've paid for it. I'm not giving it a pass on this. I'm still enjoying it though.
yeah, that you can do both those things. You can still enjoy it, but also be critical of it in that respect. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Anything else, or is that it?
Beyond that, no. I've been dabbling. I'm trying to dip my toe back into Armored Core 6, but that's a difficult game with difficult controls, and I don't have the free time to like get home and go, cool, I'm going to beat myself up. Not
That's
happening.
Absolutely fair. I've not been playing too much this month. I've been pretty busy with other stuff going on, with basic work and also like then watching streams, being part of things. But there is some things that I have been playing. More specifically, I have been playing. I recently tried out for the first time Romancevania. Funny enough,
Oh, yeah.
given the topic, I really don't like it. I've tried playing. It's one of the things I've tried playing it, and I just like
It's clunky.
the whole concept of a dating sim Metroidvania is a great concept, but it feels very. The word I'd use for it is cheap. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It just feels very. It looks very cheap. It looks very. I don't know. I just don't. Not a fan of it. Not a fan of it. It's a shame because I mean I was looking forward to it when it came out years ago, and then finally got around to playing it, and it's like, oh, really? That's it? Okay.
Yeah, I played 30 minutes of it and went, potential, but done wrong.
Does it feel
Yeah.
like somebody had an idea and was like, let's just bolt them together. Didn't really think about weaving them together.
A little bit. Like it's open, and also the contrivance of it is not very deep. Like it's like death. It I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. I think that because I put it this way, I never really got up to the romance sections because the whole Metroid part of it was like this. Just the jump doesn't feel right. The way the layout is just doesn't feel right. The environment just feels a bit clunky. I wish I could. It's one of those weird things where I wish I could give it some honest criticism, but I honestly, it's like it just didn't feel right, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it that I can put a finger on and say you did this wrong or this right. It's just a gut feeling within me, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
the vibe doesn't check.
The vibe doesn't check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that before with games, especially with demos that I've played for games that I thought I was going to enjoy, and just something about them just didn't click. Like, there's a part of me that's like, no, I can't. Because I've had that with a couple of demos like Space for Sale and more recently Star Trucker, where I was like, oh, I think I will enjoy this. And then it was like, maybe not.
I've had that with a few demos, one of which I was yelled at by my brother, like, what do you mean you didn't like it? Go and play it. It's absolutely amazing. It's a game called Altus. And everyone says it's amazing, but the vibe didn't check with me in the demo. So I'll have to wait for the release and see. Maybe see someone on the stream and see if the vibe changes. And another demo that also the vibe didn't check with me, which is also referring to our subject today, because that was Thirsty Suitors, which is a game that I really am excited for. But also, I was trying the demo, and it was great, but the vibe didn't check. I don't know. I had some sort of weird secondhand embarrassment vibe from it, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think I remember I played the demo of that, and I just couldn't get into it either. I was just like, this isn't for me. There's something about it that, like, I can see, I can see why people like it, but for some reason, I was just like, there's too many mechanics I'm having
Yeah.
to keep track of, and they don't flow together, and it's just like,
And no, the thing is, on paper, it should work with me because it has fighting game mechanics. I love fighting games. It is about thirsty suitors. I am thirsty on main all the time. It should work for me, but it didn't.
So another game that I kind of think about when I said didn't pass the check for me,
Mm.
which is less the vibe check and more just I didn't get on with its mechanics, was The Last Faith.
Oh yeah.
Metroidvania, very much inspired by the Souls universe, set in a very kind of dim universe, kind of gothic, very like like pistols and things. I thought it'd be right up my alley. No, I just didn't agree with. It wastes my time, and I wasn't a fan of it one bit. It's like one of my biggest problems with it is it has limited health items. So you have like you get 5 or 6 health vials and health vials and such. And you can only carry so many of them. However, they're limited. And so if you use them in a boss fight, which you're going to use them because in these kind of the ways things have evolved in these kind of games these days is that you generally have a refillable stock of health refills, you know? But you don't on The Last Faith. They have the but it's the health aspect of it really didn't do me justice. It's a series of um a I'm trying to think what the word is for it. Whenever I beat a boss, right? Or I don't want to beat a boss. Whenever I fought a boss, if I lost, I'd have to then spend time grinding to get the health refills.
Yeah, that is really upsetting, especially if you have to grind for a long time to regain those. I've been watching Buddy Games recently playing Bloodborne for the first time, and I forgot how much you have to grind for health vials and for ammo in that game.
yeah, and I think I've found as I've gotten older, like my capacity for having my time wasted has dropped significantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think El, you were saying that some of the areas, some of the enemy placements were built specifically to fuck with a player, and that's also very mean.
Yeah, not my vibe.
No.
Let's check. What else? Gestalt. Let's have a look here.
Yeah, how do you enjoy that game?
Really been
I
enjoying
actually
it
had
so
I
far.
had the demo for that, and I haven't played it yet.
Great game. I've really been enjoying it lately. It's been worth the wait. I do think the cutscenes, the fact they're not voiced, is a little bit like there's a lot of dialogue. So I think the fact it's missing voice acting is a bit of a disappointment. I wouldn't be surprised if we get like an update or a re-release down the line where they add voice acting. That wouldn't be a surprise to me at all. But no, really enjoying it. Yeah, very different. Definitely worth the wait. Great Metroidvania. You can pet the doggies.
Oh, good.
Yeah, your collectibles are corgis.
Yes, corgis. No, I've only played a little bit so far, about probably an hour, but really been enjoying it. So yeah, Definitely, it's also one of those great things where it doesn't quite give you all the information of the plot to begin with, and so you're discovering this world as you go. Very great game so far.
Yeah,
Neat.
it looks very fluid and
Yeah,
Mm.
I would absolutely love to hear more from you when you're like halfway through, 75% through, how you feel about that game after a considerable time spent in it.
The pixel art is just absolutely gorgeous. The sound design is great. I'm still not entirely sold on most of its mechanics, but I think it's one of the things where I will appreciate it with time. I definitely felt like there was a long stout between save points, but then I didn't die, so yeah, yeah, it's fine.
6 of one, half a dozen of another.
This is one half a dozen of it, exactly. Right then, shall we get into the main meat of today's show?
Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
couple of bits of news, don't we? And then
Oh yeah, the news as well. Of course, we have the news. Ugh, what am I thinking about? We already have, of course, the Sag-aftra Strike, which we were talking about.
yes.
Does someone want to talk about an outage that happened?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
quite a lot happened. The world stopped for 48 hours
Because somebody didn't
because
did
somebody
one. They did two
somebody
things.
did the one they did the
two
one
things that you're
thing.
not supposed to do.
Yeah, they did the one main thing an IT professional never does.
Push
You-
the production on a Friday.
You never put out an update coming into a weekend.
And they also did the other thing that they did was they didn't have a staggered rollout to catch this.
Yeah. Not enough bug checking and pushed it out going into a weekend. Oh god, how do I even describe this?
Oh.
Bad.
I can't even remember. Yeah, it was very bad. A company known as CrowdStrike, they're an antiviral defense company
for
with
businesses.
for businesses, mostly for businesses, and their software runs kernel-based. I believe that's the terminology for it.
Yes.
Kernel-based antivirus, meaning it boots up before your operating system does. It loads in before your operating system does, meaning they put out an update for this thing, which went to every computer that runs it, updated it, and then the next morning when everyone tried to turn those PCs on, they blue screened.
And there was no way to unstick it because, of course, this boots before the OS does.
Yeah, it would blue screen the OS boot.
And
The only way to fix it was to restart the machine and completely go from beginning.
yeah, but if you were running BitLocker, which is another cybersecurity thing, which requires a PIN in order to get into the thing, you were fucked. If you didn't have that
Oh,
PIN
yeah,
to
yeah.
get in, you were screwed.
Yeah,
That
you're
machine was
doomed.
completely bricked, essentially.
Yeah, that machine had
So
to be manually fixed by a person who is authorized to do it.
yeah. So in the end game of this, PCs were down for a number of days. Airports, there's just travel
Hospitals.
terminals everywhere. Hospitals,
Banking
Banks.
Banking.
in Australia,
Yeah.
banking in the UK. My company had problems.
my e-rostering
Yeah.
system was down.
Yeah. So I don't work directly for a bank. I work for a company that deals with banks as clients. We basically open their mail for them. And our system that we use to upload their mail digitally to them was down. We could upload to them. We couldn't get the confirmation that they'd received it.
Ah.
So yeah,
Which is kind of important.
Yeah, it's kind of important that we know that you've received the stuff we've sent you. So we assumed that their systems were down at their end.
Yeah, wherever
A major
wherever,
UK bank.
wherever security was crucial was down.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, CrowdStrike was working because if you couldn't get in, nobody else could.
Yeah, it did do the job. But
That's true, but that also like proves that this wasn't some sort of malicious attack.
oh no,
That was-
this was no way. This in no way whatsoever
Shadow.
was an attack.
Shadow, that's the same logic of, oh no, I've seen a spider in the house. Guess it's time to burn the house down. You know,
Yeah.
Well, if it's a big enough spider.
it's.
Oh no,
Although I will-
Shelob is now in my front room.
I will just say to underscore how bad this was. The fix at first, the fix that had to be applied to these computers had to be done one at a time. And you
Yep.
might think, well, that doesn't sound so bad. Remember, this CrowdStrike is an enterprise-based company in that it sells its software to businesses.
Yep.
Businesses that can have tens of thousands of computers, and they're not all in the same office now because people work from home, and they're all fucked, and they have to do this fix one at a
One at
time.
a time.
And those companies are usually greedy and skimpy, and they will have like a skeleton crew of sysadmins that can work on it. So they will have like maybe 10 people that have to suddenly fix 2,000 computers.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say, those IT sysops, you are braver than any US
Yes,
Marine.
yeah.
You did
You
such
are
a
real
great
MVPs.
job. Holy shit.
Yeah. All I can really say is they fucked up. It's fixed now, but that is lasting damage to their reputation. And I can only guess it was tens of billions of dollars of
least.
just
Yeah.
work and
Obscene.
Yeah.
just of trading. Billions, tens of billions of dollars flushed.
Only goes
They
to
are ruined.
only goes to show that in when in the 90s when they were building up to the Y2K problem, and there was a lot of programs that there were a lot of people working to make sure that Y2K never happened, and everyone
Mhm.
kind of thinks back to Y2K and think, oh, wasn't this big deal because people made sure it didn't happen. This
Yeah.
was what would have happened if
Yeah. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
the
people don't
entire
realize
world just
Y2K.
and since then,
Yeah, most of-
computers come along so long into our lives, and so just having the entire world shut down like that was incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but-
many people don't realize how much work was done behind the scenes to stop Y2K from happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. On
Huh?
the other hand, I just wanted to say regarding the reputation of CrowdStrike, that's a company that's been operating in the sector for the last 10 years, and something like that happened maybe 3 times, including this one so far. So I would say this is pretty good track record actually for a company that operates on billions of computers.
True, but thing is, the scale of it, though, if it was just like the smaller a company is, the more it can fuck up until its reputation is damaged. I feel once you get a company that's as large as this, dealing with the ecosystem we were, this is I think is going to destroy. Is this nearly destroy CrowdStrike? It tanked their reputation.
Yeah.
The point
from
that
It's
what
tanked
I've-
their reputation.
Shadow.
From what I've heard, CrowdStrike was accredited by
Right.
somebody. I don't know who, but it had a good name, so a lot of people tended to use them. So when it fucks up entirely. And I think this also shows a problem with not standardization, the monoculture of having one company do a lot of things. Because if you're a business company and you've got all of your cybersecurity run by CrowdStrike, that's your entire business fucked,
Yep.
kind of thing. When really, in a perfect world, you should be having like, I don't know, like half of your computers running CrowdStrike and half of your computers running a competitor. So if one of those companies fucks up, okay, half of your systems are down, but you're still running.
Yeah.
kind of-
Have a backup.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. It was amazing to see.
Yeah.
My company wasn't affected at all, which is fine. I
was fine as well.
it's just we were just kind of like, it was very weird to be like having so many people in the world having problems, and it's like, I'm fine. Thank you very much for asking. You know,
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
were just going along fine. We were just
Yeah.
like, okay.
On the other hand, that just means that we are small fries who don't need to have work computers that have security software installed on it.
Look, in fairness, I am working in the NHS. We are running on fucking tape decks, essentially. It's fine.
Yeah.
Let me
The
just put,
We're
NHS
not
has
running on
been
tape deck.
bankrupt
We
for
just got rid
years.
of our fax machines. It's fine.
let me just turn on my NHS computers. Just let it warm up. You know.
I mean, not just the NHS, the Inland Revenue Service certainly works on old shit, because when I worked there many years ago, there was one computer, like, not for the entire office. The entire office had newer computers, but there was one computer in the back office next to the photocopier that would very rarely have somebody come and work on it, and it was orange with age. It was ancient, and it was used very rarely. And I remember this distinctively because of what brand it had on it.
Amstrad?
IBM.
McDonnell Douglas.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
fossil.
The same company that makes the AH-64 Apache gunship.
That's a fucking
Mi-
fossil right there.
Yeah,
I
makes
re-
that computer.
I remember I used to work when I worked in Primark many years ago. We used to have a stock computer out back, and when I was saying this is a stock computer, I'm talking like a proper your CDR2 with a boxy little shit with a black display with green like monochrome. And I'm like, I can't. When I saw this when I was first working, I thought, I can't believe this is the fucking shit I've got to work with.
I have
There are-
seen
You know,
I have seen that kind of display in veterinary offices and stuff like that, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure our friend Drifting, who works for an opticians, I think her place uses something akin to that.
I can say for a fact that there are massive companies out there that in their very back office have an Apple II running half of their systems.
put it this way, you know how much of a guy I am, how good I am with technology. I'm one way to get my computer. I couldn't get this fucking thing to do whatever I wanted. What I wanted. So I just like, yeah, look, you deal with it.
I mean, look, most banks are operating on systems that were written in the 80s. If they're lucky, some on systems that were written in the 60s.
Some
That's
old from
still-
the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Wow.
That-
So what you're saying is there are major a lot of world leading things out there are working and failing on technology built in the 80s. Hello,
Yeah.
Russian military.
Yes. I mean,
Ouch.
you've probably seen the meme of this gigantic, very elaborate structure standing on those little spindly legs.
Yep.
Oh
yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's literally how it is. That is
Yep.
a very true picture.
Which is scary to think that no one's ever thought to be like, we need to kind of fix this, you know?
Yeah, we need to reinforce this. I'll tell you why they've never gotten around to reinforcing or replacing order, because the amount of money and the amount of damage it'll cost the company, whichever company it is, to do that major overhaul fix is deemed not worth it.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
that's exactly that.
It's not worth it until it fails.
Until it breaks.
Yeah, and that's the point. How long until we get to a point where it becomes so fucked that company's like, okay, we have to pay attention to this.
You know,
Well, that's
this
the
is.
problem.
Sorry, go ahead, Shadow.
Yeah, I was going to, but this is the problem because companies are so focused on the short-term gains, not the long-term like implications. They're just like, well, it's not going to make us money right now, so we won't do it, and ignore the fact that it's going to cost them even more money in the future if they don't get it fixed, kind of
Yep.
thing.
No. Actually, the thing is, companies are spending time and efforts, but not for the right thing. They're spending time and efforts on getting all kinds of life support to those old systems so that they can be replaced with the same system but redundant when that one fails over.
Yeah.
Instead of refactoring things, moving to newer systems, and having disaster recovery solutions for those. It's like,
It
the
hurts.
mantra here is
really
if
does.
it ain't broke.
No, it's not broke, but one day it will be broke.
Yeah. It's like there's preventative maintenance, and then there's this thing is so far beyond its life cycle, it should have been replaced a decade ago.
I mean,
Yeah.
people like to joke like the way that the American atomic missile launch systems are based on the old floppies, the old big ones. That makes sense in a weird way. Keep it disconnected from the grid. Make sure no one can hack into that shit.
Yeah.
But the NHS, or no,
It's like not everything can last forever.
no.
Not everything needs to be connected to the internet, granted, but not everything lasts forever. Not everything is going to be the B-52, okay? That sucker's lasting forever. Your computer systems that run your entire company need to be looked after and replaced occasionally.
You are not a Nokia brick phone. You will
No.
need to be upgraded.
That's fine. Just collect the Nokia brick phones and start throwing them at people. They'll soon fix the problem then. Anyway, let's move on to the next news topic. I've got one. Does anyone else have anything?
I do.
Shadow.
On the subject of unions, gives me great pleasure to announce that Bethesda Game Studios workers have recently unionized. More than 200 workers have formed a union within Bethesda Game Studios, which include artists, engineers, programmers, and designers. And I think they have been recognized. Yes, Microsoft has recognized the union, which is good. And on that same note, Blizzard Entertainment has also formed a union, a wall-to-wall union. So that's everybody. That's designers, engineers, artists, QA testers, everybody.
The
kind of
Blizzard
thing.
one is strong because that's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the thing about unions is they're only as strong as how many people they got in them. And the thing is, unions are very good for people, but people don't realize that they're actually quite good for people. Yes, of course, you have to pay dividends, whatever the fuck ever. It's there for protection. But having a wall-to-wall union means that, because the problem is, if there's only a small group of people, the company can circumvent certain things and be like, oh, that infraction that you made, do you know what? That's actually a sackable offense. I guess you have to go. Whereas if it's wall-to-wall union, they kind of can't fire people. I want to say fire. I don't.
No.
I would never accuse companies of firing people just because they're part of unions. Would never cross my mind. No, but I do tend to find that people who are member of unions tend to disappear quicker than people who are not.
Yes.
Mysteriously, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So
Hey,
now.
Just
So now.
slip on a banana peel.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say it now. Almost 750 employees have unionized across Blizzard Entertainment and Bethesda in what this article says the last 2 days, which was July the 24th. So
Nice.
it's always good to see more unions in the video games industry.
Yes.
God damn, do we fucking need them?
Especially in those companies.
All I can
Yeah.
say
Oh, yes.
is this news is a big win.
Yeah. As somebody who has been following a particular project that got canned from a dev, is it a publisher or a dev studio? Can't remember. Called Phoenix Labs. Yeah, I just yes, be good.
Or
Have
unions.
unions kind of thing. And also, please somebody pick up Project Dragon. Please, I'm begging you. I'm begging you so much. It was almost finished. It was almost finished. I would have played that sucker so much.
As someone who was in a union when I was in Primark, it is very important to be part of that because they offer you protection like there's no tomorrow. As soon as the union came in, things just changed, and I loved the fact that happened. It was difficult because people, of course, don't want to be separated from their money, and I can appreciate that. But and it's weird because a lot of people tend to look at unions of like, well, it's not going to help me because I'm happy or I'm okay. Thing is, you don't know you need the union until you need the union. You know.
Yeah, it's
Can confirm my company still doesn't have a recognized union,
yeah.
and it
Think of it as-
sucks.
Yeah, think of it as your contingency plan, just like insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
a member of a union, but it's not recognized by my company.
Hmm.
Ooh.
Hopefully that can change in the future.
Fingers crossed.
My news is a bit more controversial. Because
Ruh-roh.
boy do I pick them. This is actually quite old news. It's been going on for a couple of months now, but I want to touch on it because recently there's been a development in the news for that. And that is early this week, a statement was released from Ubisoft.
Yes.
And it was in regard to Assassin's Creed Shadows. So yeah, they when I say Ubisoft, Ubisoft issued an actual boilerplate kind of like, this is our statement about it, and it went on for about 4 pages, which I'm going to read it verbatim, make sure that there's no misrepresentation about what is said in it. And this comes from the Assassin's Creed official Twitter. So, to our esteemed Japanese community, a message from the Assassin's Creed Shadows development team. First, we want to express our heartfelt thanks for all your support for the Assassin's Creed series, which has its own history spanning over almost 20 years. Over this period, we have explored various settings, time periods, and characters, from an assassin during the Third Crusade to a Viking in the 9th century England, and countless more. For many of our team, creating Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan has been a long-cherished dream. Since the announcement of Assassin's Creed Shadows, we have received many positive reactions, but also some criticism, including from you, our Japanese players. We share your passion of history and deeply respect your care for the historical and cultural integrity of your rich heritage. We would like to address a few points to clarify our intentions and creative decisions. I want that line to be repeated just for the sake of the audience absorbing that. We would like to address a few points to clarify our intentions and creative decisions. Overall authenticity efforts. We have put significant efforts into ensuring an immersive and respectful representation of feudal Japan. However, our intentions has never been to present any of our Assassin's Creed games, including Assassin's Creed Shadows, as factual representations of history or historical characters. Instead, we aim to spark curiosity and encourage players to explore and learn more about the historical settings we get inspired by. Assassin's Creed Shadows is first and foremost designed to be an entertaining video game that tells a compelling historical fiction set in feudal Japan. Our team extensively collaborated with external consultants, historians, researchers, and internal teams at Ubisoft Japan to inform our creative choices. Despite these sustained efforts, we acknowledge that some elements in our promotional materials have caused concern within the Japanese community. For this, we sincerely apologize. All game footage presented so far is in development, and the game will be keep evolving until launch. Based on the constructive criticism we have received, we will continue our efforts until we put this game into your hands and beyond. We also want to clarify that while we have been consulting with many people throughout the development process, they are in no way responsible for the decisions that are taken by the creative teams in the interest of gameplay entertainment. Consequently, we respectfully request that any criticism not be directed at our collaborators, both internal and external. Finally, page 4, creative liberties and historical inspirations. While we strive for authenticity in everything that we do, Assassin's Creed games are works of fiction inspired by real historical events and figures. From its inception, the series has taken creative license and incorporated fantasy elements to craft an engaging and immersive experience. The representation of, and I'm going to ruin the pronunciation, so I do apologize, Yosuke in our game is an illustration of this. His unique and mysterious life made him an ideal candidate to tell an Assassin's Creed story with the setting of feudal Japan as a backdrop. While Yusuke is depicted as a samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we acknowledge that this is a matter of debate and discussion. I will get to this myself later. We have woven this carefully into our narrative, and with our other lead characters, the Japanese shinobi Noe, who is equally important to the game, our dual protagonists provide players with different gameplay styles. We greatly value your feedback and encourage to continue sharing your thoughts respectfully. While we understand that meeting everyone's expectations is very difficult, we sincerely hope that when Assassin's Creed Shadows launches on November 15th, players in Japan and around the world will appreciate the dedication, effort, and passion we have poured into it. Signed, the Assassin's Creed Shadows development team. I am going out on a limb here. This never needed to be said.
Agreed.
Nope,
I was
didn't
just going to say that.
The entire there was I'm going to go into it. There was this debate about Yasuke, about is he a samurai, isn't he a samurai? Doing my own research, and I do acknowledge that I'm not an expert in these things, based on my own research, we don't know. The general consensus is he was given a stipend, which is what samurais were given. He fought in battles. He also was paid a stipend by Yorinobu and was he's living basically lived with him. These are basically information I could find. Effectively, from what historians can glean, everything points to him being a samurai, but nothing conclusively says he was a samurai. Effectively,
Yeah.
it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it swims like a fucking duck, but a lot of people are going online are going, but it's a fucking duck. But nothing says it's a duck. And this is what annoys me the most about the fucking
Yeah.
thing. You know,
At the very least, the minimum anyone needs to take from this is he existed, and he was at least a retainer to a
that's it.
lord.
That retainer, that was the word I was looking for. And that's the thing is, and even if this is up for debate, they can make him a samurai. It's their decision to make him a samurai.
Yeah, they don't need to defend their creative decisions in a game which is basically alt history.
No, I will say,
they've already done that with the entire rest of the series.
I will say, I do understand the criticism of it's a Japanese set game and the disappointment about not playing as a Japanese character in that setting. If that's what you were hoping for, there's nothing wrong with wanting to play as that. Where I think it starts to kind of get into uncomfortable territory is a lot of people are saying it should be that when at this point I'm like, are we starting to argue that you can't have characters in settings apart from where they belong? Like, can we not like if you're if you were to make a game about a British man, can he only appear in Britain? You know?
Yeah.
So, wow.
Like,
That's a legitimate blow against the entire isekai genre.
I mean, I think it's a very stupid argument to make. I mean, I even brought this up. We had Ezio, an Italian man in Constantinople, for fuck's sake, you know. And people say, "Oh, but he was an established character." It still fucking counts, you know. It still fucking counts.
Yeah, but he wasn't black.
I mean, let's not.
Let's call a rake, and let's call a racist a racist.
Okay, I will admit that absolutely there is definitely racism at play in this, which, funny enough, a lot of people are playing counter racism because they're saying, oh, you want the Japanese to be, because a lot of people the argument a lot of people make is that this is cultural appropriation of the Japanese, of Japanese history, and saying, oh, but, you know, they're changing things. And
But he was
but
a historical character?
Yeah,
How is
the
that
thing,
cultural appropriation if he's a historical character and was a retainer to a lord? He's already like halfway to a samurai anyway.
Yeah, he's most of the way there. He's just not samurai by
I would
name.
understand if it was somebody like Marco Polo, but it's not.
That's another argument is they make is that in these games we never played as a historical figure. I'm like, that doesn't mean they can't change the rules and they can't do that. You know, they have the prerogative to do that.
Wouldn't that just be really fucking cool though?
Yeah, exactly.
As a historical figure. Like, you got a name.
And there is a surprisingly double standard about this. Like, yeah, I'm pretty certain the Pope didn't own a fucking artifact left by the pre-civilization that could control people.
But it's
That we know
okay
of.
because he's white.
Yeah. And also, I'm pretty sure that even during the Greco-Persian War or the Peloponnese War, you would not be able to hunt hydras or minotaurs.
Yeah.
I'm
pretty certain.
I mean, this is literally just the whole idea of people are saying that Yosuke was just chosen for the diversity aspect of it. Which, to be fair, I can actually, thinking about it, I can see why they have this. It's a unique perspective to have someone who's raised in a country but is not part of that culture. If that makes sense. He offers a very unique perspective. The one of the things I saw somewhere which I thought was ludicrous is they compared it to Resident Evil 5. To give context, Resident Evil 5, you are Chris Redfield, a member of the Backs, who goes into Africa where there's a virus outbreak and you end up shooting a lot of African people.
Yeah.
But he didn't grow up there. He's just a guy turning up and then shooting people in the head.
I feel like if you look at it like without any kind of context, sure that you could compare the two. But here's the problem. Yusuke was raised in this. He was a slave. He has a reason to be there. He's not been sent by an outside government force into this country. He lives there. Yeah.
this is very akin to like Native American stuff, and this is probably some very dangerous ground, and I'm aware I'm stepping into a minefield, but here I go. There's that thing about if a youngster who isn't Native American, like white American, is raised within a Native American family and stuff like that on a reservation and stuff like that, are they no less native? They're just as much Native American as if they were born with blood, kind of thing. I mean, like they were adopted into it and raised within the culture and the culture, the rituals, everything like that.
That's still
They're
family.
no yeah,
You mean
they're no less Native American than somebody who has like Native American blood, but has lived forever in, I don't know, like fucking Spain or something.
Lemming.
so?
Go,
I,
say,
I
go,
just
quick,
want
quickly, Bear.
I just wanted to say when you were saying about this, immediately the thought that came to my brain, like, you mean like Connor Kenway from a game from this franchise? Hold on, what was it?
Lemming.
Shocking.
You are not full. You technically are dual national, aren't you?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
I am dual national, British and American.
Yeah, but would you say you're American or would you say you're British?
Judging by where I've spent most of my life, my accent and everything else, I'm British.
Yeah, because you were raised here.
I'm Northern British. I was raised here. I was born over there, spent 6 months over there, and I'm here.
Yeah. Like you can attest quite a lot of times when you mention you've come from San Diego, people are like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, that's a shocker for a lot of people. But
Yeah.
sort of kind of because I think that and I get it. Look, again, I do want to make sure that it's important because I think this part of it gets lost a lot in the argument. The idea of being disappointed that you're not playing as someone who is Japanese in that setting, I can understand that. I just don't think that the right thing to do is to then, shove it into uncomfortable, maybe racist territory.
Yeah.
But
It's
you get to play a Japanese as well. You get to play Noe.
but the
But
problem is,
the
the problem is
problem-
she's a
oh,
woman.
no.
No, black people
Well,
and
we're-
women
we're-
existing in fucking history. How dare?
Yeah, we're back to bigotry and to shitty people.
Yeah, that's been the big thing about this. It's a lot of news about forced diversity. It's a fucking awful thing to kind of talk about. I think it's also important to acknowledge the legitimate criticism, but at the same time admonish that there are people who will be using it to push they're like, this is diverse bullshit defense, and
Yeah,
I think
also
it's
the problem is that the honest, real criticism is just vanished, very like drowned in the sea of shit. And
absolutely.
I absolutely blame social media for the fact that this statement had to even be written.
It
Because
didn't.
They shouldn't.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have. They
Yeah.
shouldn't have had to write it.
Yeah.
They should have
If
just
the-
said,
yeah.
"Hey, stop fucking harassing our people. We don't have
Yeah.
to justify what we do to you. Shut the fuck up."
I also
Yeah.
We're
think
making the game we want to play.
yes,
Yeah.
Burn.
EBAC.
if the algorithms on YouTube, on Twitter did not start promoting hatred, promoting the controversy, promoting all those horrible takes, people would not be flooded with them, and the company would not have to issue statements like that.
And it is quite frankly ridiculous the fact they even have to. I mean, especially people pull out the authenticity argument, and this is a subject which we'll be covering in a later podcast because I do want to touch on it, but I want to kind of air my thoughts. You can be authentic in certain areas. Just because you say your game's authentic, that's a very broad thing to say. I do think there's a responsibility among some developers to be more careful with the language they use and say which areas they are authentic in, because let's face it, if you say your game's authentic, then that's a very broad statement to make. Great. So do you get killed when you get shot by a bullet? Or do you have a health bar? At what point does the authenticity end and the adaptation begins? And I think
I think they need to be careful not to mix up authenticity and realism.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think people do mix that up, but also when you hear
All the
someone
time.
say the game is authentic, they think everything in there is 100%, no question, authentic. They cannot make any deviation from history. Whereas no, you can say this is authentic to certain aspects, but not authentic in other aspects.
I mean,
Um,
it's like it's like fucking dinosaur documentaries. Like you have how dinosaurs were depicted in the BBC's Walking with Dinosaurs thing from like a bazillion years ago, and then you have how dinosaurs are depicted now in Prehistoric Planet on Apple TV for some reason, and people are like,
And then you got
I
Jurassic
don't like
Park.
why dinosaurs keep changing and having feathers and stuff like that. It's like it's almost like we're learning more about them as we explore the fossil record and stuff.
and
Things change.
I cannot also believe that I have to say this because it shouldn't be something I have to say. I come up with these things every time. There's things that I need to say that I don't believe I have to say. This is not a history textbook. This is not meant to teach you about history. It's meant to probably inspire you to read a bit about history or to look into the subject. But it is first and foremost a piece of entertainment, and it is inspired by historical events, and that is its authenticity. The fact that these people, they did exist. Like, Da Vinci existed. He was a person. Did he do what we see in the games? No, of course he didn't. But he did exist as a person, and that is the
Yeah.
authenticity of it. Is that these people existed? How the reality of what happened with them? That's all fictional. And I cannot believe that I have to say that. But I think that's a nice place for us to segue into the actual topic of tonight, which I've been looking
Yeah.
forward to get into.
But just before we do, I have a little beef with you, Shadow. But
Oh,
when you said about Working with Dinosaurs was released bajillion years ago, I was fucking 18 back then.
Well, that's your fault for being old.
damn. Damn. Ouch. Also, hi pal. I did see you in the chat. Thank you for coming to the show, and anyone who's also lurking as well. I appreciate it. We appreciate it here at the podcast. Rule 34. Now when we say this, we are not going to get into the specifics of that rule because we all know
No.
there's a big P word that's associated with that word.
And it will get us kicked off Twitch.
And it would get us picked off
Yeah,
Twitch. We are more talking in spirit because, of course, this is episode 34.
Yes.
Yeah,
Credit-
we're gonna only slightly brush against it,
Credit-
just
We're
No.
going to discuss things, we're not going to show it.
Yes, credit to Shadow for the topic. We're going to be discussing relationships in games, and we're going to keep it very broad in this, in that not just between characters and the player characters and the NPCs, but also between the player and their character as well.
Yes.
So I would encourage the audience to kind of get involved in the conversation. As this is your topic, Shadow, would you like to take the lead on this one?
Yes. I gravitated back to this conversation because I played quite a few BioWare games, so this is sort of like secondhand to me. But with the relatively recent, I say relatively recent, it was like a month ago now. But BioWare finally came out and said, "Hey, yeah, so that Dragon Age game is not dead. It's called Veilguard now, and it's being released in autumn sometime." I think it has an actual date, but I'm not really paying much attention because it's a Dragon Age game, and well, because it's a Dragon Age game, drama has happened almost immediately, and
Yay!
drama has occurred in the Dragon Age game in the same place it always fucking occurs, and basically, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away,
That's my line.
there was a game. Well, you should have stopped me then, shouldn't you? There was a lovely little game called Dragon Age 2. Now there was a slight problem with Dragon Age 2 in that the characters, most of them, were what we would call player sexual, as in they could be
Oh,
romanced
yeah.
by both male and female characters, and a lot of people had people were very normal about this and were very angry. They got very mad. because Anders hit on them when they were a guy, and it made them feel weird, and they ran around screaming because I don't want to be hit on by a guy, kind of thing. And now many years we have cycled back to the old argument, because in Veilguard, and I'm quoting from the Kotaku page for this, BioWare has already revealed that every companion in Veilguard is pansexual, notably different from the community-dubbed player-sexual approach in some games, which sees NPCs are just romantic and sexual interests based on the player rather than their own sense of sexuality. As pansexual companions, they are attracted to people of any gender, or regardless of gender. That is a critical distinction because, in Veilguard, your companions are not just going to vie for your attention, they might take an attraction to other companions in the Titchener Veilguard. This is very interesting.
I'm for it.
And also, this is very
Yeah, I love
interesting.
it.
And it also started a complete shitstorm on Twitter, and it was the
Of
funniest thing I have ever seen, because all of the grifters came out of the fucking woodwork going, they got rid of the straights, there's no straights at all, they got rid of all of them, they killed them, and everybody who's ever played a BioWare game was like,
And I said promise.
and everyone who's played a BioWare game since ever looked at them weird and was like, what?
Then again, this is the same group of people who I discovered about a few weeks ago created something called the No Alphabets mod for Baldur's Gate 3, which
Oh yeah, these
I couldn't, I shit you not. I
so fucking
shit
funny.
you not that this thing exists, and I just couldn't believe my fucking eyes when I found it.
It's so fucking stupid.
Just look at this. Just look at this. It's
so fucking it's so fucking stupid, guys.
It's
Look at
so
these.
stupid.
I'm
Look
just
at
gonna
it.
say, if you spend your time trying to if you spend so much time trying to remove all of the queer characters from a game, there might be something a little bit weird with you, like something real fucking strange about you. And I'm just gonna say, it's very funny to laugh at you.
I mean,
you are so
Yeah,
fucking
it's
stupid.
like
it's definitely an idea of like you're so uncomfortable in your own sexuality that you can't just take someone hitting you, or like if someone hits on you, just say like it's like, oh hey,
Thanks.
I don't swing that way. It's
yeah. There's a very popular word for people who are this fragile. Snowflakes.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking assholes and dickheads, but
That's too. I mean, they have no tools for dealing with those emotions so much that they make it everyone's problem. Yeah.
Yes.
It does make me think of something that actually is quite topical.
Oh.
Fallout 4 had a mod released the other day.
Fallout
London.
London. Yeah.
Fallout London is now out. I'm attempting to get it to work at some point. It's been out for a few days. There's already a mod changing the basic a basic thing in the setting of the game. It's set in London, the UK, England. Football is called football here. There is already a mod to turn football into soccer.
You fucking snowflakes! Just fucking pathetic.
See,
Fuck off!
that to me is just funny because that's just people.
It's so petty.
No, it's so petty because people just can't admit being wrong.
Yeah, it's like
they
they
have, and that's because they accuse us of our community for trying to change the world to be like, it's like look at a fucking mirror.
But almost.
Let's get back on track.
Yeah, I will just say that's not the point. Although it was what sparked the thing in there, with people just being real fucking stupid about it. Like, I will say, if there's any drama that, oh no, it's very serious, pal. The fuck, I've lost my train of thought. No, I've got it back. One of the second most inciting dramas in the Dragon Age fandom is it's secondary to It's secondary to the Mages versus Templar argument, as fucking usual.
We talk
Don't
about
get involved.
Cassandra.
Do not look. That's third. That's still a crime against me personally, but it's not the high tier drama. For the first drama is Mages versus Templars. Don't get involved in that argument. You will die of a brain hemorrhage because it's so fucking stupid. The second one is always about the romances. And this applies to most BioWare stuff. Like me, for example, I cannot stand fucking people who ship their shepherd with Garrus. I have been through far too much nonsense against my boy Kane Lelenko. I can't stand them anymore. I'm so sorry. You're going in the pit. I'm sorry. But to arc back because that's not my point. I wanted to bring this up because it's a very interesting debate between having characters of differing sexualities like pansexuality, bisexuality, asexuality, and such like, and having them play asexual. Now, I can completely because this is where we cross into the very interesting grey and minefield line that is representing different sexualities in romance, but also appealing to the player. Now, a lot of that, because as you know, I take particular offense to the fact that one character in Dragon Age Inquisition, Cassandra Pendergast, is a straight romance only. I don't like it. I think the fact that you can flirt with her is not very nice, especially because it turns around later and she goes, "Oh, I'm not into you." That's very natural, but it does sort of lead people on. And see, this is where becomes a really interesting topic, because if you go for authenticity, yeah, you can have these mistakes. You can flirt with these characters and then have the character turn you down because they're just not into you. But at the same time, a player might feel affronted by that. They felt like they've been led on.
Yeah, led on.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
May I offer my own thoughts on this?
Of course.
At least my opinion on this situation.
Yeah, of course.
Neither approach is wrong. I feel like a lot of people say, "Oh, this is the only way it can be done. This is the only way it should be done." I personally appreciate that. If I had to have a choice in that situation, I would prefer player centric because it gives the player the arbitration over their story. And at the end of the day, you are the main character. It is your story. You should kind of have arbitration over who you get to, as which character you get to romance, and so having them be player centric, I think isn't a bad thing. At the same time, if you want to represent a world where there is sexualities and such and representation, you can also have it where there are characters who of different representation and they won't go any other way. That's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with either, because in one instance you're focusing on the player first, in another one you're focusing on representation. Both things are good, and I think that people saying it's one or the other are not considering the why I think we have that both sides of these. And ideally, a player should have the choice to be like, do you know what? I would love it if Dragon Age came out and say, do you know what? Well, you have two modes. You could literally say, I want everyone to be player-centric, or I want everyone to have defined sexualities. If you wanted that, I think given the players choice would be the ultimate decision in how it plays. I know it'd be hard, especially not hard to do, especially if you can program them into all. If you start with all player sexual, you could then just ease it back into them being a particular gender very easily. Or particular sexuality, I should say. So yeah, I think player centric is what I would choose, but there's nothing wrong with the developer wanting to depict a world where there are set representations and the idea that you can't it's unrealistic to expect that everyone will love you.
Yeah, there is a problem with that in doing so you can be accused of gamifying romance and
That is true.
sexuality
That is true.
and saying like you've boiled these sexualities down into just what people want kind of thing. And it does make it difficult to depict other more nuanced sexualities such as aromantics and asexuals, because I know there's one in the outer world not outer world no outer worlds, that's it, outer world. One of the characters is defined asexual kind of thing. It's very explicit that they are asexual kind of thing. And and that's good because we always need more asexual representation. But I can also see how people run up against this problem of um wanting to have a more physical relationship with a character, even if it's just like a little, fade to black thing. It's difficult because we're really running up against a game, and also its authenticity in a way, in that you're trying to balance having natural characters with a game mechanic at the same time. And you've got to find the right balance between, yeah, allowing this person to romance this character, whichever gender they are, but also making sure that it's natural in a way. And it's possible, it's completely possible. But I think there's also that trap you can fall into of just making it a button, a flag sort of thing, like really just a thing that we do kind of thing.
It requires
Yeah,
good
It's a
writing.
blip achievement.
Yeah, press the button because you do notice in some games, mostly early games actually, Dragon Age is actually the worst for this. But I mean, actually no, Dragon Age is not the worst for it. Star Wars: The Old Republic is the worst for this. But it's seen in Dragon Age as well, where you can just keep pressing the good button and giving an item to a character, and eventually sex falls out kind of thing. It's like a vending machine kind of thing. And I've always appreciated much more how Mass Effect's done it, where things are gated behind conversations and the story, so it's more natural, and you can't just give items to the character for them to, make to feel better. If you fuck up their loyalty mission, in the case of like Tally or somebody, you ain't getting shit, man. They don't like you anymore, which is fair enough. It's not like in the Old Republic where, yeah, I will do something completely heinous to this character's family, but it's fine, guys. I just gave him a shit ton of guns and he loves me again. Kind
Yeah.
of thing.
No,
You have to
I
be
do agree. The
ever so
writing needs
careful about that.
the
Yeah.
writing needs to be good. It needs to kind of like show that, like a prime example is Rex. Like, not even a romantic aspect. Like, you go against him in number one, you're gonna gut him down, and he's, I do like it where in these RPGs where you have companions, you have nuanced takes like that. It's sad because I do like that the game has it where if you play it a certain way, you can have your cake and eat it too, but you have to be very careful.
Yeah, yeah. I do think as well, to move, because I know I could probably get like stuck on romance for like forever.
That's
So
fine.
I need to. We're gonna move away. We're gonna try and move away a little bit away from that. Even though I do like the fact that you can fuck other characters in other games, because some people just want to do that, and that's fine. But I think there's also a lot to be said for platonic relationships with characters, and I
Yes.
think that's equally important, kind of thing, because I will always cite in Mass Effect 3, the one thing I really appreciate. I know this is going back to romance to a romance, but bear with me. One thing I really do appreciate in Mass Effect 3, if you romance Kane Alenko and you get to the final scene before the Cerberus headquarters, where you will end up in the final stages of the game. He will come to you. He will come to your cabin, and there's all the flirting that goes on, and then you have the final choice. This is final. You have the final choice where you can choose either to go to bed with him, and you get the little sex scene of two adults frolicking around in their underwear, or you get another option, which is, I don't feel like it right now. I just want a hug. And
Yeah.
that is the only romance in Mass Effect 3 where if you choose the I don't want to have sex option, he will immediately go, that's perfectly fine, Shepard. And you just sit beside him, and he just gives you a hug, kind of thing. Every other romance in Mass Effect 3 will walk out the door and leave you alone. And
Jesus.
I really think there needs to be more.
Because there's more to a relationship than just sex.
Yeah, exactly. There
Yeah.
needs to be weight put on romantic relationships without sex, but also just platonic relationships. One thing I really liked about Mass Effect Andromeda was if you don't romance some characters, you will get their full cutscenes regardless. It will just not have a romantic bent to them. Because
I
there is a scene. The example I'm thinking of is there is a scene with one of the characters where you go and plant some flowers. Well, plant some plants. And if you are romanced, that of course has romantic implications because of what you're doing. But if you're platonic, you still do it. You still do that entire scene, but it's just got a completely different vibe, and it's
Uh,
just two friends, just look at what we're doing, kind of
like,
thing. Woo!
in its defense, I think the Citadel DLC did something similar where I remember sitting down with Tally, who is my
Yes.
romantic interested, where you're talking about a movie that you'd never seen.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I love that. That's the thing. I do agree with you that games need to show that it's not just about sex; it's about being with someone,
Mhm.
and
Or connecting.
not just
Yes.
that, even beyond like the romantic side of things. Garrus, my bro, like me and him were like my best buds by the end of Mass Effect 3, and so we had the shooting competition still, and it was nice to still have that scene because that to me was important because we had been on this journey together, we had fought for each other, we'd say each other's back, and so you had the shooting contest. And I love the fact that you could do that and that there was no sexual undertones to it.
Exactly. I still fucking beat him though. Fuck that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. If he wants to be better than me, he's gonna have to fucking earn it.
I mean, to be fair, pal, I can't speak for. I don't play Andromeda, but I have heard that it got a lot of unneeded. Technically, there were some problems with it, but it was not a. It was a okay game. It wasn't brilliant.
Mass Effect Andromeda suffered from the fact that it was a completely new team making a entry into one of the most anticipated series that there ever was. They were doing it with Frostbite for the first time, which is a shitty fucking engine for shitty fucking people. And also, this is the first game they were doing, shitty engine, doing it on a time crunch, and they just had the misfortune of having a lot of bugs. Because I played Mass Effect Andromeda after when most of the bugs were fixed, and let me tell you, that game is average. It's not bad. It's got its issues. I will throttle my AI with my bare hands if I have to hear him say, "Oh, it's getting hot. It's getting cold in here again." I'm going to fucking kill him.
Mm.
I know it's cold in here, you piece of shit. I just stepped. But
Bring it back. Bring it back.
it has it has it has its problems, like all games, but it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not good. It suffers from its open world problem of once you've filled the bar of all the things you can do in the planet, you can just fucking ignore some quests. Like, there were quests to beat up the things the mechanical things that behave like thresher worms. I have never fought them. I've never needed to because they were not required, because I could do all the other quests on the planet and never have to touch them, and I will never touch them because fuck them. I am a vanguard. I punch things, and apparently they eat things that punch them. So
You two have been very quiet throughout this whole discussion. Nothing to add?
Not really.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
you
just,
played Baldur's Gate 3, Burr.
You're both
I
playing
did- I
Baldur's
got
Gate.
enough of
it.
3.
I'm not saying anything because I'm worried if I start saying things, I'm taking away time that Shadow needs. And
No,
this is
this is-
Shadow's topics. She should be the master and mistress of ceremony.
We've got
Look,
25
it's no good.
minutes.
It's no good me just standing on my soapbox and yelling for like fucking half an hour.
But
I
you want it and you need it.
I want to hear your opinions. Please give me your opinions, or else. Don't
Okay,
make
so
me go over
I mean, I do understand how you may want some of the the character in the game to be like player centric, but my opinion is like you said, neither of those choices is wrong. But I'm the kind of person that prefers the characters to have a certain particular defined sexuality,
Mhm.
and I do absolutely even when it frustrates me, like I did Baldur's Gate 3, where I was completely ignored by Astarion, or in Cyberpunk 2077 that has pretty cool romance options, and I enjoyed the romances there, but the characters that I really wanted to romance, Judy Alvarez and River Ward, were locked out from me because I was playing a male.
Let's put it this way. I'm glad I chose female because I romanced Judy. I really did. I enjoyed that.
To be fair, I've added one mod to my copy of Cyberpunk 2077, and that's so I could romance the character I wanted to romance.
Was it Judy?
No,
Oh, okay.
Rita Wheeler.
Oh,
You know who Rita Wheeler was?
vaguely?
Yeah, the bouncer at the Moxie's pub.
Oh, yes. Fair
In
enough.
fairness, I added a mod to romance Cassandra, so that you will have no judgment
Yeah.
here.
I was
Yeah,
thinking,
I mean,
go on, Burr.
no, you will have no judgment, but it's just I want the system of romancing, of the interpersonal relations in the game. I want it to be a mystery to me. I don't want to see the knobs and cogs behind it. I want to feel like in real life, where I have absolutely no fucking clue what I'm doing and usually end up alone. But it feels
Aw.
natural, at least. I mean, in Mass Effect 3, I was not able I wasn't able to romance anyone, so I ended up forever alone in all 3 games.
How? Some of them are like really easy to trip knobs, like Liara especially. Like
I just heard the term trip knobs, and I was like, what?
No, no one wanted to trip knobs with me. They all wanted to think of me as a friend. No,
no,
the
I don't know what they're missing.
That's not
the
right,
only
man.
time the only time I kind of was rescued by someone was in Baldur's Gate 3, because Lae'zel decided that this stupidistic doesn't know what he's doing, so I will romance him instead.
This, I think, is also a key thing to note. Burr said, he wanted to be friends. I think it's very important for the game to not just have a romance option, but friends options.
Yes.
I agree, and
I-
all yes, all the ideas, all the intricacies, all the nuances between the romantic or sexual based bonding between two males, or male and a female, or two females, or completely non-sexual platonic bonding, just the bonds of friendship between people. I absolutely want this to be in the games.
I mean, I'd love it if you could say anything, but you could modify it with like a button press at the same time. So like you could have a flirtatious comment, but you could say it in like a way that you're clearly joking the person, so that they know that you're not romancing them, but it's more like a buddy thing where it's like I'm just and so they can respond in kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will require a lot
A
of
lot of voice acting and a lot of
Yes.
coding.
Yeah, games these days already
yeah.
having a voice acting.
Also, I don't remember in which game that was. I think either that was in one of the Witcher games, or no. Now I know. It was in Final Fantasy X. There are discussions when you want to romance the main female protagonist, Yuna. You actually don't talk about romancing her with her, because that's not this is not the way. But you talk to other people where they'll be like, oh, so you and the Yunas, there's something between them, and then you can say like, oh no, we're just friends, or yeah, I feel like I'm catching feelings for her, or I like you better. Oh well, and you kind of get sort of in this way you can sort of have it like you can flirt with a person, but then another person asks you about that one, and you say like, yeah, I want to be good friends with them or something. I'm like interested in them platonically but not romantically, or romantically but not sexually.
And I think, Shadow, you will definitely agree with this. If there's anything that's important in these games, it's clear flagging of what's going to happen, so that you are given clear feedback when you say something, or if you have a modifier that you can make sure that you know not to press it or to press it, that this will start relationship, this won't start relationship, this will end relationship, this will start friendship, whatever it is. Clear flagging.
Yeah, that is
Signpost your shit.
this is
So
the one I will criticize Mass Effect for. It will not signpost when relationships are opening and closing. So this is what happens in Mass Effect 1 a lot of times, because people will be nice to Liara or Caden or Ashley, like because they're, genuinely nice people. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait,
Well,
what?
Ashley's a racist piece of shit, so it's just
But that doesn't mean you have to be not a nice person.
true, very true.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna bat for my girl Ashley. Actually, she does say some xenophobic piece of shit, but her underneath, she's a
Yeah,
good,
I know,
good
I
lady
know.
underneath. I'm not gonna,
I was throwing shade. It's fine.
I'm not gonna. No, I'll fight
just
for
wanted.
Let me finish my point first.
Sure.
After I
Sorry.
got derailed. Yeah, so you can end up in Mass Effect 1 just being genuinely nice to people and going, wait, why am I suddenly in a romance with Liara and Caden and Ashley kind of thing? Wait, what kind of thing? And that's not great for anybody, because that makes people very reluctant to. You shouldn't have to be like, I'm
dick.
nice, or I have to be a dick so a romance doesn't open by accident.
There's
kind
being nice and there's being flirty, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. At least Dragon Age, Inquisition, at least. I can't remember for the last two. I don't think so, but it's been a while since I played them. Dragon Age Inquisition literally said, this is a flirt kind of thing. This will start a relationship if you do it kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah. Don't be like Star Wars The Old Republic, which basically said, yeah, if you don't choose the right, here's two options I'm going to give you. You could either tell this man who is completely drunk and out of his mind, if you tell him to go to bed, I will close this romance for you and you can never open it again. You have to specifically float, like I'm pointing out, you have to flirt with this man who is not, who cannot give full consent because he's inebriated in order to open a romance up. I hope I don't need to explain why that's a little bit skeevy kind of thing. And the fact that if you do the right thing and ask him to go to bed, you will never be able to romance him. Like, what the fuck? What? Jennifer Epler, I need to talk to you. I think it might be John Epler now. I think they're trans, but I need to talk to you about that. What the fuck?
That is, especially since in that situation, who wouldn't be like, nah, he's drunk. That's taking advantage of, nah. Of course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are a
Yeah.
smuggler,
Like,
I might add.
go home, romantic interest. You're drunk.
Yeah, exactly. Like, are we implying that the smuggler, who you are playing as, because you can only romance this man if you're a smuggler, are we implying that the smuggler is going to take advantage? That female smuggler, I might add, is allowed to take advantage of guys when they're not fully, compos mente? I don't like that.
Which is also bad because it means that if you want to have a romance's character, you have to do something which you may not disagree with your character doing. Which, which it's fine if that's the direction, like you want your character to be a piece of shit and have like an arc, but maybe present another option where it's like, oh, no, I'm not going to take advantage, but I'm going to fucking tell him to go to fucking bed and keep the romance option.
Yeah, I will point out, if you choose the flirtatious option, nothing happens.
But you don't know
basically.
that, yeah.
Yeah, you don't know that when you're choosing it, but basically what happens is he's like, hey, ow, my head, I should go to bed, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, no, I remember now. He comes on to you, and then goes, wait a minute, I shouldn't be doing this, kind of thing, and backs off himself, kind of thing. But that shouldn't be. No, come on. I know this was in like 2012 or something, 2013.
Still more recent than I'd like.
Yeah, exactly. No, please don't do this. That's.
Also, God damn it, Star Trek Online, give me romance options. But yeah, let's kind of pivot it a little bit. Relation between the us as players and the characters that we either play as or that we interact with in. Like, I would go to bat for Kratos and Atreus. Absolutely, in the God of War duology, as I call it.
Yeah, I will also say, I was one of those people who, when Jedi Fallen Order was first announced, I was one of those people who was like, "Oh, it's a cis white dude who's a human. God, it's so boring," kind of thing. And then I actually saw, I think it was Jesse Cox playing Fallen Order, and we saw the character that had been put into Cal Kestis, and I was like, right, I'm having to eat my fucking words, because like he's such a good character. I love Cal as a character. I would die for that. I would die for him and BD1.
You all right there, Lemming?
Yeah. Tired. I'm good.
Understandable. I mean, we've all had connections with characters over time, where we kind of like really embodied the connection between the character. Even not even RPGs. I mean, I tend to play RPGs and I tend to play them as myself very often.
Same, yeah.
I tend to inhabit a lot of myself in the decisions I make in games. And even then, I can kind of like sometimes that parasocial relationship you have, because it is a parasocial relationship with a character, can be very hurtful. I'm looking at you, Joel. I like you. You made some fucking terrible decisions, and you got what was coming to you in The Last of Us 2. But we can see where people can take that to its extreme, in that they then extend hatred towards a character that's not deserving of it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do also think sometimes people get a little bit too invested in their characters. I've seen this most predominantly with BioWare games, especially a certain thing that happens in Mass Effect 2. If you romanced Caden or Ashley, you meet them again on Horizon, because, spoiler alert, you died at the start of Mass Effect 2 and Cerberus resurrected you, and now you're running around for them and not for the Alliance. And a lot of and what happens is you meet them up, and if they're romance, they give you a hug. And then Shepard's like, in the most stilted fucking dialogue I've ever seen in my entire life, and I hate it. Shepard's like, "Hey, I'm sorry." They're basically like, "Hey, you should join me," or like, "Hey, it's been a while, hasn't it?" And Ashley and Kadam quite rightly go, "Excuse me, what the fuck? You were dead for 2 years. What are you doing, working for the enemy? You know, the guy that if you're a soul, the organization that if you were a sole survivor of a coup, deliberately set the thresher maws on your people, who you've seen do some fucking terrible shit in Mass Effect 1, and you will see them do even more terrible shit in Mass Effect 3, and also the
Yep.
fact that the Vermeer survivor was actually put on Horizon specifically so the collectors will hit it, because the elusive man is a piece of shit and you should fight me in a
Yep.
car park. So yeah, you can understand, like, most people with media literacy can understand, like, yeah, of course they're going to be mad. There's context behind this. But I found that quite a lot of people are very, very angry with them because the characters stand up against Shepard and say, "Hey, you are in the wrong. I am not joining you," kind of thing. And they're actually proved to be right, technically, because they
Yeah.
do accuse Shepard of being a clone in Mass Effect 2. And then we later learn in the Citadel DLC of Mass Effect 3, there was a Shepard clone in
Yeah.
Cerberus's employ. So it could have easily been a clone. And I find it, part of me is fascinated by it.
That people don't like being challenged in their ways.
That, but also that they don't seem to have an object. They don't seem to have an object permanence. As in, they don't seem to understand that what we know, those
I
characters
just
don't
don't
know.
know. Yeah.
And I find that interesting, but also kind of scary
And
in a way.
a lack of being understand and empathizing with their position.
Yeah, exactly. Because you also see some characters doing things, like, for example, Abby fucking annihilating Joel, and people are just so mad about it. Like, how dare you, kind of thing. It's like, okay,
No, her Abby has a very good reason to kill Joel.
yeah, and I'm it's also linking back to something that is happening in the internet space, which I don't quite like, is a rise of purity culture, in that if a character does something bad, they are really, really bad. I will Elle, do you have the spoiler warning by chance?
I can bring it up.
I'm going to
It,
talk about X-Men 97 and a certain thing that happens after episode 5, after episode 5. So in X-Men 97, Remy LeBeau, Gambit, is killed. He dies he dies to take down the Wild Sentinel on Genosha. And the context behind that is that he's in love with Rogue, but Rogue, of course, has problems with, people touching her, because people can't touch her. And even though Remy is completely fine with that kind of thing, she has a lot of hang-ups about it. So she's been gravitating to Magneto, who she can touch, kind of thing. And this culminates in, there is a kitty now. This culminates in her coming to Remy and saying, "Hey, Magneto's offered me this place beside him, ruling Genosha. I'm gonna take it," sort of thing. And she essentially turns him down. He says, "Things are deep, like
some
things are
things be
deeper."
deeper than skin.
Yes, some things are deeper than skin. Basically, meaning like it's not all about touch. And then later on, she dances with Magneto, and Remy walks out because he doesn't want to watch this. And
Just people
she
got really mad that she did that in front of him, dude. It's
Dude, like,
she
she
can't
did,
just stop her life because he's there.
yeah. And the thing is, like, Remy did the adult thing and was like, "I don't want to watch this," and walked out, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And the thing is, so she dances with Magneto and sort of figures out, no, actually,
The heart
I
wants something else.
yeah, it's like, I can't do this. So she rejects Magneto, but Remy doesn't know this before he dies. So when he's buried, Rogue just loses her shit. She starts beating the shit out of like stuff. She's like, "Where the fuck is Trask?" kind of thing, and stuff like that.
And then
And
yeah.
yeah, she does a lot of things that she shouldn't do. Like she joins Magneto, for example, and people got very very angry about this because one, they got really angry at Rogue for rejecting Remy and dancing with Magneto in front of him and all sorts of things, and then they got angry again that she joined Magneto after, like, I don't know, witnessing an entire genocide of her people,
I mean, she literally had a
losing
speech.
the man she loves.
She literally had a speech saying, "Who's next, Professor? Jean, been there, done that." You know.
Yeah, it's like
she,
Morph wasn't on the team for like half an hour before they died,
yeah. I
kind
mean,
of thing.
I do think people have a problem of like understanding a character's perspective a lot in things, and yet she was completely justified. She was wrong, and she definitely was making a mistake, and also, it definitely is not what Remy would have wanted. But she's making a decision for her, and she's making a decision that she feels is right in that moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And people criticize the fact that she wasn't at the grave when he was buried.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
explicit. She explicitly says later on, like, I know Remy's dead, but I'm not ready to accept it. She's not at his gravesite because she doesn't want that finality. She doesn't want to accept that he's actually gone and dead and buried, kind of thing.
Bringing it
And
back. Go on.
and also, like, she's taking her anger out on things. She killed a man. Let's be honest. She dropped a
Mama.
guy from a building and killed him because his sentinels killed the man she loved, kind
And
of thing.
this idea that she could only be acceptable because of that. No, it's characters can make mistakes. Characters can have lapses of concentration. These things happen. I do understand with you that people are very critical of like if a character's something bad, that's it. They're awful. There's no redeeming them. No, like the world, The Last of Us. I like Joel as a character too. I understand why he did that. I don't agree with why he did that, but I understand why he did what he did. And that had consequences that came back to bite him in the ass. He
Yeah,
got
exactly.
he kind of got what he deserved in that
Yeah.
respect. As much as
Yeah.
it pains me to say that he got what he deserved.
At the
Yeah.
end of it, yeah.
When
Take
when I
spoiler
finished
alert.
The Last of Us Part 1, I kind of was on the side that later got him in Last of Us 2. I absolutely hated what he did in the end of Last of Us 1. So when he got what he deserved in Last of Us 2, I felt like, yeah, absolutely, that was deserved. That was natural. That was natural consequence.
I do want to highlight something that Pal said earlier, which has not been said, which I think is an exact statement which Burr has also commented on. Just because the character is fake doesn't mean the feelings are.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
I mean, as we've seen, people can be very, very parasocial
yeah.
with the characters.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at me.
Look at all of us. I
I
think
mean,
all of.
love them or hate them, VTubers exist.
True.
Mm,
You
I
can
mean,
take the spoiler alert
oh
down
yeah,
now.
I could take the spoiler alert.
I mean,
yeah.
Community-focused YouTubers exist. It's a thing.
Yeah, people.
Yeah.
Sorry, Burr, you were going to say something?
Yeah, just wanted to change the subject a little. So if we want to, if you have anything else,
Not really, no.
because I wanted to say I really enjoyed the idea that the NPCs in the party are gonna romance each other. I really
That
want
is
to be
good.
there for that. I really want to
Yeah.
see that.
It means there's relationships happening outside of you, which is
Yes,
wonderful.
exactly.
Yes.
Which is great.
Makes
I love
them
it.
more,
Yeah.
which makes them more like characters, more like
Yeah.
people just doing their thing.
Yeah. Also, it might let people feel a bit like you're not the center of the world, because a lot of things that people have problems with, like what you said about Ashley and Caden being upset at Shepard. It's like there is this one specific flavor of Mary Sue that is like things can happen to you just for the purpose of you being the main character. Like something good will happen. There's no reason for it. There's no like in story in universe reason for it other than you're the main character. And
True, yes.
Yeah, and a lot of like if Ashley or Caden did not like be really upset with Shepard, that would be because this is only for the sole reason for that would be this is Shepard. There's no other reason for it.
Mm.
So I feel like the fact that the characters would be romancing,
Oh.
that would be really interesting to experience, really interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think it might do something to not make them feel so much like toys for
Yeah, yeah,
the player to fuck, really. If they're
yeah,
having like, and also making their pansexuality mean something because
yes,
they're dating each other, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. But also, this is why I'm so very different. In you want to clearly know, for example, oh, this is the romance option. This is the option that will end romance. You want the clear flags. I'm on the absolutely opposite side. I want it to be as incomprehensible, as mysterious as in real life. I don't want to know any of it.
I mean,
Just like when the character, when you get to flirt with someone, was that flirt, was that not flirt, does it open something, does it close something? I don't know.
I
i'm
guess I, gue-
I'm stumbling blind.
I guess we need options.
you need options. I mean, I,
Yeah.
I personally think if you're gonna have, if you can't have options, flags are the direction to go, because I'd rather people know what choice they're making rather than not. But I think, yeah, I ultimately agree that options are a good choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Enough options to suit everything.
Yeah, I do think I can completely understand with you, Burr, because when I played the Old Republic, I would turn the I would turn the option on to have the dark side and light side points always represented by my options.
Mm.
And I found, like, normally in dialogue they're not shown at all. They're just shown as dialogue options, and if you hover over them it will show like what happens. But I think in having the options up, there was a little bit of a thing that I would do where I would just choose the light option regardless of what
Would
I
do.
thought my character would choose. And I can see exactly why you don't want those options there, Burr, because it loses
Influence
that
it,
role play a little bit.
and it
Yeah,
can influence your decision making in that moment. So I do
yeah, because
understand
you
that.
you you suddenly start min-maxing, you suddenly start strategizing for what you want instead of role playing.
Mm. I mean, I would still have it. Yeah, I would still have it there, but I could completely see, like,
Yeah.
Mm.
I can
Yeah.
see why you wouldn't want it
Because I'm someone who wants to be able to have control over the narrative more. So I can
yes.
see, whereas you are more wanting to have it flow naturally.
Mm.
So I can see the argument for both sides. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, regardless of whether there is an option for that or not, there will always be people who will want to have this absolute control over what's happening. So you'll always find guides like, how do you romance this character? How do you get to do this with
But I
them?
also don't want to have to look at a guide for that.
Yeah.
It's
With all
true.
respect.
I don't have to look it up.
That's, I mean, I don't want to look for those guides too, for completely other reasons than
Yeah,
needed
yeah,
to do.
yeah. Because it's like, relationships are already hard enough in real life.
Mm.
And especially if I'm wanting,
Gladly.
to have like the story where I'm the hero and such. It's like, let me have this. Moving on to
Yeah, let me have my power fantasy.
a different aspect, which I don't think people would honestly didn't expect me to take. Professional relationships.
How do you mean?
I absolutely adore the 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 charisma between certain characters where they're in a professional relationship and there's no romance at all, but they know each other very well and they work professionally with each other. And the one I point to is 47 and Diana.
I was just thinking that.
Those two are just such a great pairing for as a business, and there's no romantic overtones at all. And I love that, the fact that they are completely platonic and not even friends really. Just it's all business. And in a weird way, in that same series, the connection between 47 and his targets. The one I always remember is Jordan Cross, and having that reminding him of why I'm here, of like why I'm here, why I'm here to kill him because of what he did, and seeing him break down in front of me and see like and be wondering like, are you truly sorry, or are you just saying it so I spare in hopes that I spare your life? It's a weird thing to talk about in relationships, but yeah, it is a weird form of relationship, in which is a unique different in that series, and yeah, I kind of like the aspect of that. Hello, drifting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there is something. Okay, I think there is something to be said about heroes and their villains as well.
Mm.
Like the dynamics between the two. I'm trying to pull one up in my head right now, but there are some really good ones that you just like. I like this kind of thing. Actually, I tell a lie. I do know Sonic and Eggman
Yes,
because he really fucking hates that hedgehog. He wants that fucking hedgehog dead.
but he's the one who wants to do it.
Yeah, he wants to do it, and he wants to be the one to do it. And also, I think there's also a part of him that's like, well, it's not fun if he's not around, kind of
Yeah,
thing. There's a part of
yeah,
him that likes the chase, and I really love that in hero and villain relationships, where it's just like, I could destroy you, but once I have, my life isn't worth living because you are my life, kind of thing. Fighting you is.
Are you about to say the same thing I was, Lemming? Let's let you finish, and then we'll see if you were going to say the
No,
same thing I
I
was.
was pretty much finished. So
Yeah, were you going to say Batman and Joker?
Batman and Joker is the obvious one, but
I
then
was
something
about
else
to
came
say
into my
Batman
brain.
and Joker too.
Batman and Joker is the obvious, villain and hero pairing. There's one that always comes to mind eventually in this sort of situation, and that is Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner.
Yes.
They did one episode, one bit, where Wile E. caught the Roadrunner. He had him in his hand. Then he held up a sign to the audience saying, "Okay, now what?"
Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now what? Yeah, Tom and Jerry, as Pal says.
Yes, yeah.
I do want to highlight something which Pal said in the comment here, which is, I want to say one thing. If there are no indicators that a certain dialogue option will be as bad by the romanceable be seen as bad by the romanceable character, at least let me apologize afterwards, because sometimes those dialogue options are super vague and sound like a nice thing to say, only for it to come out completely different from what I thought.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
This is why
I
clear
absolutely
flagging
agree.
is
Yes.
important.
Yeah, if you're not
I-
gonna
I-
get. Sorry, Burr. You go.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're not going to give me if you're not going to give me the exact line of dialogue that my character is about to say, and just give me like the vague interpretations, you've got to flag what things are going on. If it's not the literal piece of dialogue, yeah.
Yeah, we need context clues here, people.
I mean, I would agree with the clear flags, but as a alternate options, if you can't do such good writing that the dialogue options are either not vague, or if they are vague and you fucking always know they are vague, you give the option to like apologizing because you didn't know what you meant, for example.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would like that.
I was literally about to say that, Pal. Fallout 4 is a prime example of
Yes.
terrible dialogue context, because you have
awful.
You have positive, negative, shop, as I like to call it, and sarcasm. And of course, sarcasm. I want to be the funny guy. A lot of the sarcasm choices are really fucking mean. And
Dragon Age 2 also has this problem.
yeah, and I'm like, no, like, if you're going to give me the option to be sarcasm, at least let me determine the tone. Like, am I being mean, or am I being just trying to be funny, you know?
Yeah, I've seen that in some like Mass Effect and the Old Republic as well, where they'll give you a dialogue option and you're like, oh yeah, that sounds good, and they'll say something completely different to what that was, and you're like, what the fuck?
Absolutely, that is one of my clear gripes about games is when they are not clear about what you're about to say, and then
Yeah.
you say it and you're like, I didn't want to say that. My
Yeah, I
character didn't want to
didn't
say
mean
that.
Yeah,
That's-
for the Old Republic, you're hitting escape as fast hard as you can. Like, no, we're starting this conversation again.
Ebag and Lemming, you have most recently played Cyberpunk 2077. I don't remember that much of it. I much better remember that in Witcher 3 the dialogue options were almost always really, really well thought of or really good. How do you remember the dialogue options in that regard in Mass Effect?
Yeah,
Sorry,
they're
in
signposted
Cyberpunk.
accurately.
They are quite well signposted in Cyberpunk. I'll give it that. I'll give it its credit. Yeah.
Like what you select is generally what your character says.
That is good.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem with that at all. And let's. What else we got? We could talk about in terms of relationships. We got the targets thing. Rivals.
Oh yeah.
Like.
Right.
Like.
If you give me a moment, I just need to pop and do something. But I
Sure.
will be right back because I have a lot to say about Pokemon Rivals.
I was about to
Okay.
talk about Pokemon
Okay.
Rivals. So yeah.
Before that, in the meantime, I want to say something that will probably upset Drifting. Because I want to say that there are things that I want a bit more nuance than just love, no love. Because you were talking about the professional relationships that are not necessarily romantic relationships.
Mm.
And the thing that immediately popped to my mind is Phoenix and Miles.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, they have such good chances to be really good professional, having really good professional relationships, and not necessarily being immediately shipped by everyone on the internet. I mean, literally, there are places in the town where you can get shanked for saying you don't have to ship them.
No, actually, I think that's fair. The idea of having no romance option and being completely platonic and having just a professional relationship with characters, that should also be a fair choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I think there has been one game where I basically been like, I don't really want to romance anybody, kind of thing. But it's very difficult to be nice to people and not, accidentally end up in their pants, kind of thing.
I don't know. In Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, I was perfectly nice to everyone and ended forever alone.
Teach me your ways.
Yeah, rivals. So I'm going to mention off the bat N from Black and White.
Yes. I didn't bond with him as much, so you will have to take this one alone,
Well,
my friend.
I like it because N sees you like N has clearly been raised by an abusive father in believing things that he doesn't believe in, but he truly respects and likes you as a person. It's just weird to see this person who is a likable person completely misguided by the environment he's been raised in, and like showing him the lies that he's been fed all this time. And always remembering like the Ferris wheel scene. Great writing, I feel. Very complex. Like Ed is one of Pokemon's most complex characters, and I don't think people give that enough credit.
Yeah. I will say of the Pokemon rivals, I've always really loved Silver. And you might just be like, Silver, but he's a fucking asshole to you. And it's like, yes, but
Compelling character.
as things go on, he starts off as a bastard, like bastard to his Pokemon, bastard to you, kind of thing. But after he gets beaten by Lance at the Rocket Hideout in Mahogany Town, he starts to have character development, and he's still a bastard. Like he's never going to be a nice person, but you see a building of respect there. You see him learning, like, oh, maybe, like, he's like, oh, maybe I need to. He's building a bond with his Pokemon more. He's starting to respect you more, and he never will like you at all, but he respects you. And I think when you hit that point in the game where he is showing you that respect, and he says, the reason why you didn't see anybody on the victory road is because I beat them all because I wanted to fight you, kind of thing. I wanted to see if I was ready, kind of thing. And I just fucking love that more than the other Pokemon rivals who are friendly to you. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like the friendly ones. Like, I love Hop. Like, I will die for that boy. But I really like the journey that Silver goes on. Even if he never likes me, the respect I get from him means more in a way.
No, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I completely agree. And I actually agree with you. I think Silver is one of, again, Pokemon's greatest characters because, especially when you context things in from Heart Gold and Soul Silver about his backstory, you understand why he's such a dick. Almost, you know.
Yeah, Giovanni's his dad.
Before we segue away from Pokemon rivals,
Hmm?
fuck you, Gary!
Fuck,
Oh yeah,
fuck you, Gary.
Like I have been playing Fire Red for like technically the first time kind of thing. And I haven't hit like Gary is a bit of a twat, but
Yep.
I don't know if it was changed from in Fire Red to from the original ones, but he doesn't seem to be like too bad kind of thing. He's a fucking asshole, but there are points of him where he's just like, hey, you should probably train in such like kind of thing.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
that's
was
just
mostly
me.
going off my memories of the anime.
Oh yeah,
Fair.
he was a
That's fair.
he's
He was a
cunt,
dick in the
he's a
anime.
cunt,
Anime Gary is a douchebag.
He's a cunt. Yeah. In the games he's a little bit better.
Just to touch on what the chat's talking about, I am actually someone who is like, I fully, if someone wants to ship Miles and Phoenix, I'm for it. I personally can also see them just being professional and good friends.
Yeah, I like childhood friends. Just like they get on, but they went separate ways and now they're rivals.
And I think that's go on.
Sorry. I was going to say I am exactly this way for Rogan and Gambit. I don't care if they're married in the comics. Like, I prefer them as best friends.
That's the thing. I think there's nothing wrong with someone inferring their own relationship on it, so long as they don't necessarily ignore certain aspects of it. But there's nothing wrong with you being like, in my interpretation, I don't see it that way, which is fine, as long as it comes from an honest kind of viewpoint.
And then you've got rivals that are just fun to beat when you're playing against them.
Well, I was thinking like the flirtatious rivals, like the ones I was thinking of were Sly and Carmelita.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, those are nice. And then you got my
those
perspective.
Why were those two just fucking fuck?
Fucking fuck, yeah.
And then you've got Project Wingman, where you've got Monarch, your character, versus Crimson One, who turns up, says he's going to beat you, you then kick his ass, he goes away, he comes back later going, yes, I'm going to nuke my own country just to beat you.
Oh god.
That's-
Seriously?
It's so satisfying to fucking murder him. It's
Sir,
so
have
nice.
you considered perhaps therapy?
We are going to
Yeah,
finish.
He needs it.
We are going to finish. Go on, Beth.
Sorry, I just wanted to, because you were talking about Pokemon. I've only played one Pokemon game, but there is an interesting rivalry that I really enjoyed in the end. Even though I didn't enjoy it at the beginning. I'm talking about, of course, about Bede.
Yes, that's an interesting one.
He's an absolute asshole and a pain in my buttholes for a long time in the game. And then it's so interesting to see like him eating the humble pie, completely humiliated, completely like his ego shattered into pieces, and seeing the transformation that he has, how he becomes this apprentice to was it Melanie?
No,
it was the old lady. Yeah,
the old lady whose
Yes.
name fucking escapes me, but yeah, I know.
yeah, the fairy lady.
The fairy lady, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Hmm.
I loved that journey of Beats.
Yes, it's very Silver-esque. I noticed because he never likes your character, never ever likes you,
Yeah.
but he tolerates you and
Yes.
respects you.
But he's got less anger and more of an ego. I think it's more thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
he begrudgingly ends up respecting you. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like he's just waiting for the moment to beat your ass. But
Yeah.
while he can't do that, he's like, I tolerate you,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
One thing example I'm going to bring up as well is camaraderie amongst groups of people.
Oh my god. The one thing I am a sucker for found family, and the found families you get in like just Mass Effect.
That
Like,
scene
that
in the
is so
Citadel DLC You know,
The photo, that's so good.
not just that, but like when they're all like defending Shepard from the balcony, you know,
Yes.
and they're all lined up in a row with their weapons.
Yeah,
Great
it's just like,
scene.
I think you should shoot it again.
Yeah.
That's so fucking funny.
Although, the one, go on, yes.
I just wanted to say, if you ever want to see me completely cry my eyes out and bawl like a little Bobby, you just give me really touching scenes of camaraderie
Yes.
and of
Yes.
joining together in
A common goal, yeah.
adversities. The sort of the equivalent of the portals opening in Endgame and the audio left.
Yes, absolutely. One game which I'm gonna bring this out, and people are gonna say, "Really?" And that is Crimson Skies. You never see any of the characters in that are members of the Fortune Hunters, but you hear them in those briefing scenes, giving their own feedback, giving their own kind of comments as Zachary is giving the briefing for the mission. You get to like learn about each one of them. You never see any of them apart from their planes in the actual gameplay, but the idea of camaraderie between them is fantastic. I always remember there's one mission where you're having to go just respond to a distress signal from a hospital ship, and Tex is like, "Why should we care, boss? You know, we don't know those passengers from Adam." And Zachary's like, "Actually, we do. The passengers are for the workers' voyage. If we hadn't destroyed their fighter escort, they would never got in this situation." And Zachary even says, "Now I'm going to go and help those people. There's no pay in this. Anyone can sit back here, no hard feelings." And then Tex is like, "Well, I'm with you, Chief." And everyone kind of gives that like, "Yeah, you know, yeah." You know, and I just like, you know, I sucker for camaraderie, kind of things like that.
God, yeah. And I will
Yeah,
just you first, Burr.
So just I wanted to do one joke and then one mention. The joke is that in the camaraderie like scenes, there will always be one like dude that is always aloof
Yes.
and a loner that'll be, "You fuckers are all gonna die." I'm in.
Yes. And I will just say this is kind of outside of our scope, but I want to do it because you mentioned camaraderie. The camaraderie that we developed playing Star Wars Squadrons together. You're muted, L.
No, I completely agree. The fact that happened through a game, absolutely, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Nothing more I can really say about that. We would not be
Yeah.
as we are without that time in Squadrons
Yeah.
together.
This podcast would not exist had we not played Squadrons together and spent hours upon hours till the next morning
Yeah.
just talking shit.
Yeah, just shooting the shit, yes.
We are
Just
gonna wrap,
talking bollocks.
we are gonna wrap up very soon for this because but it's been I think this has been a really good discussion about you know
Yeah, it's
and
been very
I just
interesting.
wanted to do a quick mention.
yeah, go on.
Only the title, because regarding the love and camaraderie, regarding love and camaraderie, that everyone absolutely loves whoever has had encountered this game. I'm not gonna say anything other than the title because we are doing it and we want to see how it develops. Sea of Stars.
Yeah, Sea of Stars, absolutely love it. Definitely not. I mean, also quickly talking about parental Atreus and Kratos.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
yes. And also technically like David Anderson and Shepard, there's a very definite like father-child thing
That
there.
that makes me think of this isn't a game, it's a movie, but Dune Part 1, when that came out, it was a refreshing change to have a father and a son who actually love each other.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I
Yes.
just want like yeah, sure. Parental problems are the root of so many good stories, but fucking Jesus. I just want to see some parents who just love their children, you
I mean,
know?
Yeah.
that's the thing I love about God of War is that there's never a debate that Kratos loved Atreus. It's just that Kratos never has had to be a
He's a
father,
deeply damaged individual.
and you get to see his growth as a character in the original and especially in the sequel in Ragnarok. Like that scene after Atreus has caused so much pain and he caused Atreus to run away. That scene where he sits down and reflects upon his thing, and you hear Kratos say, "I'm sorry." You know, words
Yes,
that I never thought I would hear Kratos say.
that's
It
so incredible. And also the scene where I don't know if it's in the first or Ragnarok where Atreus is shuts down completely
is
and he's like,
sequel.
"We're gonna go hunting," and Kratos is like, "No, we're not gonna do that. You are running. He's like, "You are running away from this."
The words is, "This is a distraction. We are hurt.
Yes,
We are injured." You know, and
yeah, it's so good. Like,
and who can forget Mimir as well in that?
oh,
Oh,
Mimir,
Mimir.
like the uncle we all wish we had.
Oh yes, and
Yeah,
like that moment when they're doing something, and it's like, "Why are you doing this, Dad?" And ever the wise man, Mimir just says, "Have you ever thought, lad, that maybe he just wants to spend time with you?" You know.
Yes, so no.
Oh damn!
Yeah, the feels.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
It's very unusual shit. Shout out to Cal Kestis and BD1 as well.
Oh my goodness,
Best buds.
best buds, best brothers.
Yes. Also,
Pal,
I
pal,
wanted,
go
I
play
want,
God of War and God of War Ragnarok. I implore
Yeah.
you to do so.
I do need to actually finish God of War and then get God
Do
of
it.
War Ragnarok.
Also, I
Yeah.
wanted to do a shout out to Kara and Alice from Detroit. Their
Yes.
story is also
Yes.
really amazing story of maternal love.
Absolutely. Maternal, found family. Like she's not the mother,
Yeah,
but she
yeah.
more or less
Yes,
is.
yeah.
You
She
know.
becomes so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she becomes literally over the game she becomes a mother.
I think people should be more comfortable exploring this. Like I remember everyone getting all up in arms with Kratos being very kind of touchy feely. No, people should be able to experience emotions and show that they have emotional depth to them.
Well, the thing is, he isn't touchy feely. He's still very Spartan, especially in the first
Yeah.
one. But the way he develops to navigate around how he was raised and into fatherhood to show the emotion and the love that his son clearly needs, kind of thing, because you could definitely see, like, at the start of God of War, like, Atreus is a lot more bonded to his mother than Kratos, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, do I really have to be like stuck with him? He doesn't seem to like care for me."
And
Kind
right at the start, you see that moment where there's a moment where Atreus is upset. Kratos reaches the shoulder, but then hesitates.
Oh,
You know.
that kills me.
Yeah.
That kills the woman. That kills the man. Oh, it's so
It's
it's
such
just
oh
I love
Yeah.
I love God of War so much because I haven't played it and I don't ever. It's not my kind of game, so I won't. But the story is just it's so good.
Yeah.
And
it was
Ragnarok is one of those sequels which is basically like, you see how good this is? We made it even better. And I was like, oh, I
it was
love it.
amazing to have you along for the journey on that one, Shadow, and you as well, Burr.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was an absolutely amazing game.
Yes.
Both of them.
Anything else that we want to bring out in
Tough.
terms of relationship before we finish?
Not really.
Now when it comes to relationships, no.
No, although I think it's always quite fitting that we do, of course, once again mention how we have bonded as well through games.
If it wasn't for video games, we never would have met. I
Mm.
mean,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for a man playing the World of
Something game.
Warcraft Cataclysm beta, I never would have gone. I would never would have met Jesse Cox. I never would have gone to CoxCon and met a man called Weird FTW playing a board game, and in doing so, I never would have joined his streams, and in doing so, I never would have met these fine gentlemen here, and never would be here.
If it wasn't for Lewis, I wouldn't be doing this. This wouldn't exist. The Discord wouldn't exist. So
Yeah. We all found each other through this.
and that's probably the greatest relationship that games can bring.
Yes,
I was
absolutely.
just gonna say that, like, the greatest boon that they've ever brought is people together. Like, they've brought like it's not just friends together. They've brought partners together. Like they
Yeah.
love has generated like real true love between people have blossomed. There are people married because of that. Like it's amazing. It's an amazing
Don't
thing.
ever let anybody tell you that a long distance relationship isn't a real relationship.
Or online friends aren't real
Friendships
friends.
or anything.
Like, whenever I refer to these people, these are my friends. They're not online, they're my friends.
Yeah. You all are my friends.
Yes,
I'm blessed for having you all in my life.
indeed.
Well, this has been a very touchy-feely podcast. Probably it's a good thing we didn't get into the actual Rule 34.
I mean,
We
I can
don't
bring the
need
I can bring the tone down and mention something.
Go on then.
Well, look at what Rule 34 does for gaming. Overwatch is basically entirely fueled at this point
By
from what people are doing with their character models.
Yeah.
To the point where Overwatch decided that they would lock their character models. They were going to encrypt their character models.
Let's not forget also that if you play games which are of the more interesting nature, shall we say, nothing to be ashamed of. That if you
No.
do you.
But here's the turn point on it though. You've got Overwatch here. They locked it. Their game is slowly dying because of what they've done to it. And then on the other hand, you have a little free game that got released 4 years ago that was released for free. Simply because the guy that made it wanted more of this type of character to be drawn. Helltaker, a free game on Steam, has 4.5 million owners. Just because a guy was horny.
I mean, fair. I mean, I'm looking at Marvel right now and being like, well, if you do a certain thing with a certain character, I will be yours forever. But that's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
It's not, but this is what just the world of what we're referring to as Rule 34 can open doors to an entire player base.
Yeah, especially that Overwatch porn is gonna outlive Overwatch by a long time.
Yeah,
No.
that it is.
Like porn also drives technological.
Oh, it always has.
It's
Yeah,
just
technological
how it
advancement.
should be. And I
Like
think
you go on.
yeah, I was just gonna say I think we just need to accept that people be horny, yo. And if they
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
play like porn games where, you know, they fuck people all the fucking time, like who am I? I don't care.
I mean, if
don't-
Markiplier can
honestly
get
don't
away with
care.
playing Orc Massage
Yeah.
on his YouTube channel, I
Yeah.
think everybody else should be okay.
Also, as a long-time enjoyer, I gotta say, a lot of porn games, other than gratuitous sex, they also have really interesting relationships, really interesting stories in them, and sometimes you can find really, really interesting gems
Like
among
Max
them.
Gentleman's Sexy Business, which is just
Yeah.
which like the non-binary pronoun is just being called boss, and I was just
Yeah.
like, that is the only time I've not played a female character because, like, of course I want my pronoun to be boss.
Wonderful boss.
Kidding me?
Yeah, boss.
Yeah,
You're not
And
wrong.
remember, if you're doing what you want to do and aren't ashamed of it, you're a boss.
indeed.
The best person to be is yourself.
Indeed.
Yes.
You weren't born. You weren't born to be. You weren't born to be perfect. You were born to be you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So
How-
yeah,
how
And of
does it
course,
go in
Balthier
second
brings up Rule
round?
63.
Rule 63, yes.
There's only one thing I need to be. Me.
Yes.
There are some great options. If people want to share what they think are their favorite kind of pairings, groups, camaraderie moments. I mean, I'm already thinking about Sorrow Donald, Goofy, and all sorts of things.
Oh my God.
You can, of course, shove them in the chat here as we finish off, or better yet, you can join in on the Discord. We have a Discord, at least, or I have a Discord, which you can join where we all are on, where you can kind of join the conversation and also join the little community that we have going on.
Hammer and Sickle Bugs Bunny, our Discord.
Our Discord.
Yeah,
Of course.
Yeah,
Oh.
just be aware I'm going to rant about Gambit a lot.
Also, Daffy and Bunny, Bugs, they are husbands. They are
They
husbands.
are both married and divorced at the same,
Same
time.
time.
I don't know how they manage that. It's so funny.
I was just quirks. Sorry. Anyway, right. That we're gonna end the podcast there. Thank you much for joining us, everyone. My name's been Eback, and I've been, of course, been joined by Burr.
Yes, it's me.
We've been joined by Ling.
Find me tomorrow. I'm playing Baldur's Gate.
Indeed, yes. Go watch him and Drifting play Baldur's Gate tomorrow. Be fun times. And of course, Shadowface Rider.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
My hands are going numb.